We are Sabians. Tawakum Nataru, Wumuntaru, Tawatak, Mutar Baabaa Yaanun. In the personage of His Excellency, Dr. Malachi York Okwan. Tawakum Muslafu for supporting us on the other side of ether. And Tawakum Moisar, as we are doing our very best to transform into the very best versions of ourselves in our one collective body. All right, and this is our scroll. So I'm very happy to come together and read our scroll. A little bit about the author, Baabaa Yaanun, the master teacher. All right, the author of this scroll of eyes. All right, as the seal is open and it is time for the secrets to be secreted. All right, as this is a DNA doctrine. So may you go as far as your genetics will take you. All right, may you live to your potential. Baabaa Yaanun, the master teacher, known to us as His Excellency Malachi York Okwan Kobina. Kobina means born Tuesday, June 26, 1945 AD, in Ghana, Africa. Kobina is, as you see, Baba is he's acknowledging his Ghanaian roots. So Kobina means that he's born on Tuesday. So you can add that to your name, all right? The day of the week that you were born, all right? So I was born on Saturday. So now Amma is part of my name, all right? So the book starts with 9 reasons to be a Nuwapian and not them, all right? So it's a scroll within itself. Sometimes we read it, all right? So take time to read that as well, all right? So let's get right into our scroll. Rawed, good, Wu, and Dawal, evil. 1. Lahe kum aye marura karadu shalil wunuwa. For you all, my beloved children of Wunuwa. This you must tahum, overstand, of forces that exist. 2. Their proper names and scientific tones called Rananat, names. 3. For it is all about Nashat, energy, and Nakash, reason. 4. The power of Nupu, Munwapu, those who replace them, or Wunuwa, and replace them for the Nagar Nadu Salal, Negroid race. All things were created for and by you. All right, so we're going to talk about the power of names. All right, as we are lining back, all right, with our ancestors. And Baba takes us further and further back. All right, so now you see Kobina in his name. All right. You are the primary, verse 6, you are the primary creator and original prime mover in infinite Natar nature, Mundaru overseers. 7, you are the Muwadu, ones who are good. And the other hand, there is Mudwawu, ones who are evil. 8, both are opposite Salalu races, Hamem black and Laben white. 9, so you have Nupu and Zupu, and Dawal is evil. Dawal evil is Zupu, all right, as in Zuin, Suin or sin called Nanar, Zion, Sion found in Samuel, 2 Samuel chapter 5 verses 7, which reads, nonetheless, David took the stronghold of Zion. The same is the city of David. All right. So we have Zuin, Zupu, the forces of Zupu. All right. Nanar called, sin called Nanar. And just to put in your back pocket, one of the updates in the last few recent years, in a recent year, it came out sometime during Trump's first presidency that Baabaa said that Trump had been tasked to build the temple of Nannar. At the time, I remember we were tasked to build the temple of Yaanun. All right, we should have had a few by then. All right, but just put that in your back pocket, the temple for Nannar. All right, so that's the forces of Zupu. All right, so that was taken from the King James Version. Zion, Hebrew Strong's number 6726. Sion. Sion is spelled T-S-I-Y-O-W-N. Or Deuteronomy chapter 4 verses 48. Sion, who is none other than the lower gatekeeper called Sin in Akkadian, or in Hebrew Strong's number 2483. Kata. Kata. All right, remember we were talking about that word kata in the last scroll that we read. The last scroll we read, the God of light and fire, which goes hand in hand. Kata dealt with the one who sacrifices are made to. All right, so it's about consuming. Kata. All right, just from that. So kata, he who seeks sacrifices, who met on Mount Sin or Sinai to give them the laws of Lawi Tananu, all right, Leviathan, all right, Levi, all right, so the Levi priesthood, all right, that's dealing with their forces, all right, and interesting, just to put in your back pocket again, that you see little signs in their society, Levi genes, all right, so Levi, or the Levi priesthood and genes, talking about the pants you wear, but really the genetics, genes, Levi genes. All right. 10. The first two tablets given was none other than the Sumerian tablets. Number 1 was the Enuma Elish. Number 2 was Atrahasis. All right. And Exodus chapter 24 verses 12 reads, and the Lord said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount, and be there. I will give thee tablets of stone and a law and commandments, which I have written, and thou mayest teach them. That's from the King James Version. Note it says tablets, and then Bible puts in parentheses next to it, tablets, as in Tabets, tablets of stone and law. Hebrew Strong's number 8451, Torah. So Moses got the Torah as well as 2 stone tablets, not just the Torah. And these were broken in Exodus chapter 34, verses 1 reads, and the Lord said unto Moses, hew thee 2, okay, here, that's hard. It says here are the 2 tablets of stone, like unto the first, and I will write upon these tablets the words that were in the first tablets, which thee didst break it. All right. So Moses broke the tablets, and then this entity said, I'll just write you some more. All right. The 2 others were later recreated by Tammuz, son of Inanna, and Amuzi of Enliites, side of Anu's son of Anunaki, or Anakim. 11. It became their Torah. The Hebrew Strong's number 8451, law, or book of law, Torah, or law, mitzvah, is found under Hebrew Strong's number 4687. It means commandments. 12. Lawi or Levi is found under Hebrew Strong's number 3878, meaning joined, attached. All right. Think about that joint attached. All right. And think about what has happened to us in the West, not just in the West, but throughout the whole planet, and not just to Nagaru. All right. How they join on. All right. To infect this way that they could affect all of us. All right. Through the genetics. All right. So when you think of the mark of the beast, all right, we're talking about genetic markers. All right. So now you hear Levi genes. All right. To get those Levi genes so that you can put them all under, all right, because we're outside of that jurisdiction, all right, till you get those Levi genes, all right. Now you can fall under that priesthood. That's why we have our own culture, so we're not at the mercy of this alien, all right, these alien overlords and these alien commandments, all right. So Lawi or Levi is found under Hebrew Strong's number 3878, meaning join attached. 13. The book of Leviticus, chapter 1 through 10, speaks on how to make damam blood and bashar flesh offerings and sacrifices to their overlords. All right. So if you go back, now that we have more of the spell lifted over our eyes, right? Go back. I have the holy tablets right here. All right. Go back and read them. And these creators, how they created the Adamites, even in there, we wanted to be so badly. As Baabaa say, when he met us, we were wannabes. All right. So he gave us what we wanted. And even right before our eyes, we couldn't see it. So they said, they were complaining, this is just too much work for us. Make us a slave. And when they was creating these workers for slavery, all right, look at the way that they treated them, right? Even in the holy tablets. All right. They were making too much noise. Another time they were having too much sex. There was a lot of different things that was happening. And the people, all right, that was being created by these makers weren't really treated that good. All right. Now you see what they were made for. That's why they were like livestock. So they were made for work. They were made for food. And later on, they were made for sex. All right. And that's it. So the book of Leviticus chapter 1 through 10 speaks on how to make damam, blood, and bashar, human flesh offerings and sacrifices to their overlords. 14. Pa mukrabu, the cherubim slaughter and kill, offer, sacrifice humans and animals for their God. The Hebrew Strong's number is 1408. Gadadu, gods, Elohim, Alihat, Anunaki, Anakim. All right. So this God likes, and they can't deny it. All right. Because Abraham, without a question, was about to sacrifice Isaac, his own son. All right. And then what did God do? God put his own son, all right, in blood and flesh, and eat of Jesus's blood and drink of his flesh. All right. That you can be born again. All right. So he gave his own son. All right. So it's all about offering people up and sacrifices, all right, and keep them under the order of sin, nanon, so you can constantly judge them, all right. You guys did something bad, but you know what? Get a scapegoat. If you get a scapegoat, I won't devour you. But if you don't prepare that scapegoat the way to my liking, I would devour you. Go back and read uh, what is it? What is that called? Leviticus. Go back and read Leviticus, the whole chapter, and you see God is constantly threatening the Levi priests that you have to make the sacrifice perfectly. You have to have the right part of it. Leave a little fat on it. It's a cookbook, all right? How to prepare it just perfectly. Put a little salt, all right? God actually in the Bible, it says, the King James Bible, right there, it says how God likes to eat his meat. So God likes the flesh. That's his, the fat. That's his favorite part. The savory smell of that fat burning. You keep that, and you have to take a piece of it. All right. You have to eat a piece. So you both eat. So you take a piece on, and then you give that sacrifice. All right. So, and that would make sense. Right, that would make sense. When you just critically think about it, why do I have to eat? And then if they don't want to eat it, they will be devoured. They will be killed. So you have to prepare it a certain way and serve it a certain way. And why would I have to eat that? Okay, you want a steak, I don't eat steak. But if I don't eat a piece of it, you're going to kill me. It makes perfect sense because in case that I'm trying to poison that being, I'm going to die too. So notice that the Levi priests, they would eat a piece of it. All right, right in the Bible. All right. So when you go back and you read the holy tablets, when you go back and you read the Bible, you read the Quran again, it reads a little bit different. All right. Yes, Zamal Hattab.
Bro, bet.
Right
I had a
there.
question. One of my
Yeah.
questions. One of my questions is, how do you read so much? I try to read, but I only read when I get like inspiration or I'm motivated to read, and I want to read more. And it's just like I'm just stuck trying to get myself to read and fix get myself to read this and that, but I can't find like the discipline to read.
Oh, okay. All you have to do is start by reading a little bit at a time. So it's like if you set a time aside, that might help. So let's just say when you get up, instead of checking Facebook, just make a promise to yourself, I'm gonna read for 15 minutes today. And that's it. And just read 15 minutes. Because like you don't have to sit here and read like hours like I do. All you need is 15 minutes. And then once you get into that, then before you know it, you'll lose track of time. And then you won't even have to time it anymore. But just discipline yourself and keep your word to saying, I'm gonna read 15 minutes uh or or whatever you do when you're publicly when you're traveling. You can even keep the book on you. All right.
Huawei, how what's that? Some what's that?
Yeah. It's
I
like
should.
creating a
Oh,
rhythm for yourself. Because I
got you.
feel like rhythms are very helpful because it's like having a ritual. And for
Yeah.
me, I realize I'm a ritualistic person and I like looking forward to things. It doesn't matter if it's a bad thing or it's a good thing. Like, for example, I realized that I just enjoy looking forward to something. So before it might have been, I was looking forward to uh like a Snicker bar or something. I'm just throwing something out.
Huawei.
And then it's like I realized that because it's convenient. I go there, you have all these reminders like, oh, I'm passing that place, all these familiar things, and you realize it's not really about the actual Snicker bar. It's about that ritual. Because what happens every time you're doing something, you fall into that groove, and it's like, oh, and it's comforting. It's comforting to flow into the groove. So if you create a new groove, it's the same. You'll get the same like dopamine centers. So for
Sure.
example,
It
yeah,
talks about that in the mind book.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
the cake scenario.
yeah. So then for me, my ritual just became like my day feels weird if I don't have like tea. It just feels weird. It feels very weird. So I start my day that way. And so it doesn't matter what habit it is, you know? So you just create a ritual because technically that's a ritual. If you're walking past a store every day and you stop in there every day, that's a ritual. If you make or however it is, whatever it is, like a rhythm, that's a ritual. All right. So they put us under their rituals. We have our own rituals. All right. But rituals, the body just likes rituals. All right. So now those who hate, let's go back. So you have the book of Leviticus, which is a cookbook about offering flesh, how to cook the flesh and everything. All right. What parts that God likes, this the Lord. That's what it said. It tells you the parts of the meat. So it's like if you know somebody like you don't touch that part of the meat, that's for such and such. That's how exactly God is. All right. When you go back and read it, or that particular God. All right. So 15. Those who hate Munwapu, I skipped something. 14. Pa Mukrabu, the cherub or the cherubim, slaughter and kill, offer, sacrifice humans and animals for their God. He was Strong's number 1408. Gadadu, gods, Elohim, Alahat, Anunaki, Anakim. Hebrew Strong's number 6062. 15. Those who hate Munuwapu. For Zupu is Narar, fire, Mabir, which is amber, and Nupu is Mayah, water, which is Zarek, blue. All right. So you have the amber children, amber children. Those are the fire children. Those are your true lights, so to speak. Then you have, because all fires are, you deal with carbon. You can carbon date anything. Anything that can be carbon dated means that it's on a timeline. It can die. All right. So it's a limit. And then you have your water beings. All right. Or you might see it as golden children. All right. And that's blue. Water. Water cannot be carbon dated because they cannot find the origin of water. Water just goes and shifts from state to state. So you'll never find organic water. You'll always find natural water. All right. So just a little thing. Organic is dealing with things that deal with carbon. That's all organic means. Organic chemistry and inorganic chemistry. All right. Doesn't deal with. So you cannot carbon date water. All right. You never find natural. You'll always see natural spring water. Try to find organic water. There's no such thing. All right. So a little fun thing about the games that's played with information. You think organic means good, right? Organic does not have to mean good. Petroleum is organic because it can burn. All right. So gasoline, which is from the fossils, which is very bad for you. All right. So that can be, you can get some organic petroleum. All right. That doesn't mean it's good for you to consume. So, so 17, these are the deity forces of Mawat's death and Haya, life. All right. So you have fire for the death forces, and then you have water for the life forces. 17, Maya water is Haya, life, as in the Raham, womb, and Narar, fire, is Mawat's death. Maya water puts out Narar, fire, as Nupu puts out Zupu. All right. I'm not bothering. It's so interesting. I'm really happy to get and share this information. I'm a sister sitting in my own living room, reading scrolls that I need to read anyway. I just read it out loud. But I like to read these scrolls anyway.
That's how I get to read mine. I be reading mine on YouTube at times. I feel like I don't have nobody to read them to, so I just read them on YouTube, and then that's how I
Yeah,
read mine.
yeah, that's good. And then you get to help other people. Rahul Bassakam.
Robert Nuncha, I just wanted to ask you about organic. What does the word organic lettuce mean when we go in the supermarket and buy?
Organic lettuce.
Yeah.
They use organic in many different ways. So organic in America, for example, means that they just didn't use pesticides, but you can still have organic GMO, genetically modified organism, and they can still label it organic. That's why the standard for organic is not the same in every country. So in America, it just means they don't put pesticides and things like that to treat it. That's really most of what it is. They can still manipulate it, because how do you have organic seedless grapes? All right. So organic can still mean unnatural. These are the tricks of the fire children. So what does it really mean? Really not that much. That's why we need to start growing our own food in actuality. But I would challenge everybody to search for organic water. And if anybody finds organic water, all right, I will send a free scroll. And I'm serious, because I know it's not gonna happen. But if it does happen, I will send a free scroll. All right. All right. So 19. Yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Okay, so 18, it was leading a thought. Maya is haya, life, as in the Raham womb, and Narar fire is Mawat's death. Maya water puts out Narar fire as Nupu puts out Zupu. All right. So the whole fact of the matter is so many have come into this group to neutralize, flatter me, to stop reading the scrolls, shame me to stop reading the scrolls. Why? Because it's like I'm cock blocking, so to speak, cock blocking. All right. And what I mean by that, that's a lack of another phrase that I have. But cock blocking, or I'm putting that fire out. Because at the end of the day, so many people, they sound so deep and heavy, and they play with people's souls. And people may not have read by the scroll for themselves. They fall victim to the games. All right. All the scams and addiction and the many different things that has happened, right? Which was addressed time and time again. All right. So now we're going to just level the playing field, and we just put and now this is common knowledge. All right. This is, everybody's going to see it. All right. Now that everybody sees it, now what you do with it, that'll say more about you. All right. That'll say more about you. All right. Is it active in your life? All right. How's it? Rahubat, Zamal Linky.
Yeah, so thank you for saying that. My name is Linky from South Africa. So I discovered Wu-Sabat somewhere last year, I think around March, April. And then I subscribed to OSM Vision, so I've watched all the videos. But I don't have money yet to buy the scrolls. And we have been discouraged to seek out PDF files and encouraged to buy, and I understand the logic behind it. So, and then I joined this group and I see that we have so many PDFs, and I'm like, do I download? Do I don't? But I want to read the information, and I know that when I do have the money, I would love to own every single scroll. But at the moment, this information speaks to me so much that when I learned about eating right, like I stopped immediately. I took all the meat that I had in my fridge and gave it to my friend, and I've never looked back since then, because that's how much I understood it. So yeah, I appreciate love what you're doing. And I sat with myself and said, do I download the scrolls or not? Because I don't want to share them. I don't want to sell them. I just want to read and understand the information for myself. So yeah, thank you for saying that.
Mm-hmm. So throughout the years, it's funny. Like I'm in communication with Baabaa. All right, and what I mean by that is I have written him, and the games that people have played throughout the years with information. It was a very good thing I had a connection to Baabaa. Right, because it's like a lot of times, like, if you didn't do this, you're not gonna get on the Hinuat. The craft isn't gonna get you. And the reality is that, we don't have time for those games. I don't sell anything here. If somebody wants to share a PDF, I don't tell them not to. All right, money's about to be worthless anyway. And there's a lot of things that's on you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I'm going to continue reading scrolls for free. All right. I'm going to continue sharing the scrolls. It's helping many people. I can't keep information, and I go because I can afford the scrolls and I have access to them. I do go and I purchase the scrolls to support, but there's people all throughout the world. I don't think there's a bookstore in South Africa as far as I'm aware of. All right.
No,
And
there isn't.
yeah, and people have sold scrolls. I've seen somebody selling a holy tablet. So one time, Baba, he has sold, I have a holy tablet next to me. He sold this book. Let me just let you see it for $50. All right. You could buy it for $50 when he was selling it. I seen it for like $1,000 on the internet and all these types of money games and such. All right. So if you know that you're not playing the money games, you're not, you know, doing all those things, and you really want to help people, that's up to you, you know, of the conviction that you have. All right. So however you reason that out. But I tell you, in this group, there's been people who have been trying to like neutralize me to and attacking my clothes and just different things. And because it's waking up a lot of people. All right. And it's open for everybody throughout the world.
Tautat.
Mm-hmm. All right. So 19. When these two groups of mortals converses, all right, we're talking about the ones of water, which is life, and then the ones of fire, which is death. When these two groups of mortals converses on their Zaamas religious opinions, they, Nagad Nadu, Negroids, and Kakas Nadu, Caucasoids, indeed speak of specific beings. Nagad Nadu, not Negroids, of Mundaru overseers, and Kakasu, or Kakasnadu, of Anunaki. All right, Anakim, Hebrew Strong's number 6062, or Mukmahu Pleiadians. All right. So now you could see for us, and Baba had to be so careful, all right, throughout the years, because it's hard to attack a person's God without that person turning on you. So Baba had to first tell you, a lot of times when you're in an abusive relationship, I would call this relationship that we had to these adverse forces abusive. It's hard for you to just say, oh, you just got to leave him. You got to leave her. Sometimes you got to show what kind of person. So you have to say, is that love? Is that what love looks like? So you have to support sometimes the relationship. All right. Depending on how bad it is, just look at psychology. So you try to help your friend, sometimes they'll turn on you. All right. So a lot of times you have to support. You support. All right. And then you start to slowly but surely the person will start questioning. All right. And then you can explain it away. And it's a process. All right. To walk away. All right. So for us, we're in a unhealthy relationship. All right, with adverse forces. And that's what Baba has taken us through this 12-step program, all right, to help us break free. All right. So now you see a lot of us, all right, are still in touch with the Anunnaki. Baba said you got to be in touch with the Nataru. All right. So 21. One or more of the deities of antiquity, whether they know it or not, because as was stated before, the word God, deity, is not a name, yet a German, Celtic, Old English God, Hebrew Strong's number, meaning fortune, wealth, of Mukanu, Canaanites, a title or an attribute. Notice how Trump is bringing prayer back to school, all right? So he's priming the people, all right? Because they're afraid, they're losing that control. All right. The churches are getting more and more empty than ever before. People are asking questions. All right. More than ever before. All right.
I wanted to say something.
Yes.
Me and Satan the Hat and Hisi from Philly was talking about how the consciousness of the people is really rising. Because he said, you ever notice that the children from highly religious people like tend to not really follow the religion for themselves, most of them? And I was like, yeah, that's surprising. But he said, no, I mean, it's not surprising. That's just because he did his job.
Who's
Baba did
he?
his job.
Oh,
Baba.
Baba did his job.
Hmm.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot on the planet because I was actually looking to buy some more beads. I was buying some beads, and as I was buying the beads, I was like, I wonder, because a lot of the times things become trendy and people don't even realize where that trend started.
Exactly.
And yeah, so it's like people are being affected and impacted by influence that they don't even realize where that influence comes from. And that's because a lot of us, we get certain things and we don't really share where it's from. Because what happens is that it comes from fear. Because we have this need to be important, the need to outshine, that whole competitive nature. All right. Because if we're in a competition, I'm probably not going to tell you what was as helpful to me. I'm gonna probably keep it to myself because I want to shine. All right. Because also what it also does is I'm gonna give you some food. I'm not going to tell you how to get it yourself, so I could always be important to you. All right. Now notice that Baba is taking us back to Pa'ut. There's no successor after him. So many people are upset because they want to be the successor. All right. They want to be the one that you come under. All right. When Baba is lifting the veil, there's no need to stand under. There's the need to cooperate. And sometimes we have different strengths. And just because I read a book first doesn't mean I'm more sensible than the next person. I don't fall for that. All right. Some people may be more advanced than me and they never read a scroll yet. Once they get that scroll under, you see what they do with it. All right. So it doesn't matter if you know something for 5 minutes or for 50 years. All right. Some people know something for 50 years and it's never active in their life. All right. But people are afraid of others going past them. All right. You just grow to your potential. All right. And I just play my part. And we all play our part. And that's all one needs to do. All right. Because when one of us made it, we all made it. All right. So there's been many things that's been helpful to me. I'm just thinking about all that. So let's get back to the scroll. So we're on 23. So one has to name the deity unless they are referring to entomology. All right. The entomology. That is the original meaning of the Madat's word. All right. So when we go to entomology, we're going to the meaning of a word. As a tone or Tazuz vibration, as Gadad, God from German, good, simply good, same as God, short one cipher or ghosthood to Tayaf, ghost. One Gadad means one Tayaf, ghost, by which attribute or title. All right. So Bob is explaining when you say God, you had to name. What do you mean by that? So it's a very vague statement because sometimes you see it plural and sometimes you see it singular. Sometimes you see it feminine. Sometimes you see it masculine. So what forces are you talking about? And a lot of times people play with that game the same way. It's very confusing. What does organic mean? Depends on which country you're talking about. Depends on what it means. So many different things. So now you can't take for granted like, oh, definitively, especially when people have been playing games, unless you're going to the etymology of the word. All right. So you're just talking about the root of the word. But outside of that, you have to ask which one. All right. 24. These are all the titles given over Wakut's time for Anunnaki, the extraterrestrials recorded in the Mushmaro, Sumerian tablets of stone uncovered in Iraq, which predate the Bible and Quran, yet with the same stories. El or Elohim, Jah or Yahweh, Allah or Allahat, Elyon or El Elyon, Shad or El Shaddai, Adon or Adonai, Baal or Balim, God or Baal God, Rab or Rabbiuna, All right. Lord or lords, God or gods, Theos or Theo. All right. So in the last book, Rabbi or Rabbi, it was like a human teacher. All right. Human teacher. Mortal. All right. So they even had like that's what I love about Baabaa breaking down the language. Because once you get the rules, you'll start to recognize different things. All right. So, but it's a title that many people can sit in. All right. You can put that title on. And it's also a title can also represent a relationship. All right. So a relationship. So who is that to you? Oh, that is your teacher. All right. Or that is your friend. Or that is such and such. So imagine you just had somebody running around saying friend, friend. And that became a holy title. That's very vague. All right. Because it's a title and that relationship can change because that's not the friend of that. So the relationship. All right. That's my friend, but I'm not my mom's friend. That's my mother. All right, for example. All right. So they have you relating to these different beings under titles, under jurisdictions, so to speak. All right. Depending. All right. So these are the games of being everything is so vague. 25. So it is the same beings, Anunaki, under new attributes, titles, names, and tones. Much of the Mushmaru, Sumerian or stone tablets, which are in cuneiform, was found in a cave on Pa Makab Lahmu, or the planet Mars, and transported here by a time tunnel that was at the base of Alalu, and the ones who opposed Anu and was cast out. One of Alalu cities are in South America, now called Puma Punku. Puma Punku. All right, that's one of the Alulu's cities. He built it in one night and was part of Atlantis, of the southern part of North America, which was northern part of Atlantis. Yes, these two continents, North and South America, and small islands made of Atlantis. Alulu also built other cities in southern Atlantis or South America. 31. Before Alulu came to this macabre planet, he did not agree with Anu and had to take over Nibiru, put Anu off the throne by force, and attempted to Katul or kill Anu. All right. So there you go. All these politics. All right. We're talking about Anu as the most high. All right. So we're just talking about a chain of command. All right. So he's the most high amongst that fleet or whoever he's dealing with. All right. So it'd be like a school. You have your principal, you have your teachers, the dean. Well, you have your principal, then you have your dean. Then you have the teachers, maybe. Then you have the staff, and then finally the student. All right. And then in some places, over the principal, you have the superintendent. All right. So you have different beings that could sit in these different seats. So Anu was able to be pulled off of a throne. So that means he's not all powerful. All right. He was just the most high in power at the time. But Alalu was able to defeat him and pull him off his throne and attempted to kill him. All right. Yet the council voted Alalu off. So now his Hayat life was on the line. And he and his Yasar family departed Nibiru for Taha Earth, which at the time they called Tiamat. All right. So now you see war between the gods. All right. So that fleet, they don't even get along. All right. So they're competitive You see where this competitive nature. All right. So these are not of Pa Nadaru. All right. This one's trying to take over this one. All right. So now he gets voted out council. So technically what he did, all right, would be treason. All right. So treason, he attacked the Most High or the president. It's like attacking the president. He attacked the president and then he didn't stay the president. So that means that he's probably going to get in trouble. So he's running from the law, all right, from his own ship. So he finds a place and he say, you know what, let's settle here. So 33. So once they arrived here, Alalu uncovered much Nabat's gold, built great cities, and did genetic experiments and gravitations, as you see the many faces and Puma Punku of his work. The statue from ruins of Puma Punku. All right. So this is marking what that extraterrestrial being was doing over here. He was doing gravitation and, you know, doing different things with gold. All right. 34. Then Alalu got wind that the Anunaki or Anaku were coming to Tiamat to mine for Nabat's gold. All right. So Alalu, he was here. He was like, I'm living large. And he's playing, you know, genetic experimentation. He finds gold. Then he gets wind that the Anunnaki on the ships, that they know about the gold and they're going to come. All right. So Inki, Nin Imud or Ea, was sent first to terraform. All right. Terraform. So he was going to help reform the planet, because before we could bring everybody, we had to send somebody who can make it conducive so we could come down comfortably. All right. So Enki, he was tasked to terraform the Makai planets, and he is called Ki, meaning solid. All right. So he was sent down to touch the ground. All right. Ki, you'll see sometimes Ki is referred to as earth, but now you see it also means solid. All right. So Alalu sent for Enki to visit Pumapunku. And so he did, upon which Alalu offered his daughter, Damkina, to Enki, if he would speak to his father Anu on his behalf. So there you go. That was his, this whole story you find in the Holy Tablets. But that was his reason for reaching out to Enki. Let me butter him up a little bit. I'm going to offer my daughter. All right. I'm going to offer him my own daughter. So now we family. That's what they do, right? This is a family issue. I mean, they're already family, but this is after the treason. All right. And go talk to Anu. All right. Maybe we could work something out. So Enki agreed, and Kabula accepted Damkina, renamed her Ninki, and departed for Nibiru to speak to his father. He first spoke to his mother, Nimal or Namul, consort of Anu, and asked her if she would not speak to Anu about Alulu first. She did, and they agreed to visit Ki, Earth, and they did. All right. So he was like, you know what? Let me butter up the wife first, because he's going to listen to his wife, maybe more than he's going to listen to Enki. So he was like, maybe if he has the wife talking, by the time Anu will warm up to the idea. All right. Because this man just tried to kill Anu. All right. So 40. What is found in South America was a bowl with Anu's name on it in cuneiform. All right. So this is the name, or see Anu. All right. So Baba knows all these ancient languages. So if you took time you could research it, and that would be the equivalent. All right. The bowl shows the symbol of Anu, an ancient Proto-Sumerian script mixed with cuneiform as illustrated above. 42. The bowl was discovered housed in some sort of shrine as part of a fertility ritual to offer libation. Is dated to be at least 2500 has one. 2500 BC or much older. All right, so it goes back 2,500 years BCE. So that's before 2000. So that's about 4,000 years. All right. So 2500 BC. All right. About, what are we in? This is the year 2025. We're in the year 2025. Okay. So that was 4,525 years. All right. Or much older. All right. So it could be even older than that artifact. All right. So it's a fertility ritual bowl. So it has something to do with some ritual dealing with fertility, and they use it for libations. All right. So the artifact shows and proves there were once ancient Sumerians in South America. Right. So Baabaa is linking how language can prove certain things. So, for example, you find Sumerians more in Iraq. All right. But you still find some artifacts here with the same language. All right. That can be found in South America as well. So it proves that they were also in South America, the same people, all right, or the same groups. Enlil came also and saw the great work of Alalu. He became jealous and convinced his Mudad father not to trust or Ghafur, forgive Alalu, who thought his Sawatat's daughter sealed the deal by way of Enki, being he was older than his half-brother Enlil. All right, so now he's getting afraid. This is that competitive nature. All right, I remember Baabaa also saying to us, he said, I'm trying to breed the Anunnaki out of you. Look at these insecure beings, the politics, the things that are crossing their mind. They're not thinking about the greater good, about, okay, we have to go to our planet, we need it for our planet, and they're thinking about their personal agendas. All right. So now you already read the personal agenda of Alalu. You have the personal agenda of Enki. All right. Now you have Enlil. So now Enlil, he becomes jealous because Anu might be impressed with everything that Alalu did. And Enlil is actually younger than Enki. And now Enki might end up being more, I guess, a successor. All right. So he's afraid, you could already read between the lines. He's afraid of losing his successorship. So now he goes back to his father to sabotage any progress that might have been made. All right. Between like, okay, you know what? Maybe we could work something out. Even though Alalu already has his own agenda. All right. So you have all these different agendas. All right. Do you want to be under those type of gods? You want to be at the mercy of those type of beings? All right. Go back and read the Holy Tablets after you read this. All right. 46. And so began the conflict between Gadatwi, the two gods, Enki and Enlil. When Anu did not agree, Alalu, rejecting fear of death, departed for Lamu, Mars. So Enlil most likely succeeded because Enlil showed the connivingness and said to Anu, don't listen to them, don't trust him. And Enki, he pointed out, like Enki was offered the daughter, it's not sincere. All right. He tried to kill you. All right. Don't listen to them. All right. So now Alalu is afraid. So he's like, you know what? Anu's going to come with his whole team and his whole posse. All right. I didn't win and getting him off the throne. And people have this bad taste in their mouth about me. I better go to Mars. I thought I had it good here. And I tried in what is that word called? Desperation. I tried to patch it up. But now I got to flee. All right. Because what I did was treason. All right. So when Anu did not agree, Alalu, rejecting fear of death, departed for Lamu Mars to set up a colony there with his family, creations, and followers, the Olmecs, the Toltecs, the Aztecs, and their Karadu children of Maya Mars. All right. So now you see that these beings came down and they mixed with some beings that was already here. Got them to follow them, and then also grafted some beings as well. All right. So now you're seeing how they're getting mixed up in our story, not just through the Adamite genes, but by mixing in, because we had these contacts. All right. Now you'll notice people coming and shopping around for their own followers, for their own status. All right. I'm not about status. I don't have time for that. All right. Just wherever people, they activate whatever they're good at. I'm not necessarily good at everything. Some things I'm really good at. All right. So I'm looking for people I can collaborate with. I'm not looking for anybody to impress or put under me. All right. Because I'd much rather have useful, especially the times that's coming. All right. So that's what he did. So Alalu, he ended up having his loyal following, and then they went to Mars. All right. 48. This was told by Paa Taraq, the Caucasoids, in the 1994 cinema called Stargate. All right. So sometimes Baabaa, he makes movie recommendations, and Baabaa, knowing the backstory, he can point out what that movie is signifying or where they got certain information on what is it based on. All right. So
this is actually the first time I've seen him mention a movie in one of his scrolls. That's cool.
I think he's done it before, but I can't remember. But sometimes in like personal letters or updates, he might recommend things. But yeah, this one he actually put in a scroll. 49. Alalu and his people left just as a Karab war broke out, in which Enlil destroyed Pumapunka from the Patat sky with great balls of Narar fire and stones. All right. So now Pumapunka, which is where some of the disagreeable, those who disagreed, they went and settled. So there was a disagreement, and they were setting up something nice. And then Enlil said, "Not on my watch," and he attacked their city from the sky. He didn't even have to come down. Similar to what they're saying, certain of those drones are doing. I'm not accusing all the drones of doing the same thing, because drones can be used in many different ways. But there was a research showing that some of the drones, or drones in general, they may have lasers on the bottom. So in actuality, you can pinpoint different things and do different things with the lasers. Everything from scanning things from far up, sending information out, or even attacking, so that's an example. Oh, Rahul Bat Waun, I see you. Waun, you're muted. WAUN. All right, I'm going to mute you just because I can hear the background. Everybody is free to participate. think that he unmuted by accident. So let me mute him. Whoops. Okay. So if I mute you, you'll probably have to raise your hand if you want to say something. Okay. So let's continue. So we see all these politics. Some people don't want to let the holy tablets go. All right. Bob's trying to warn them. You know, they went through, that's good. You know, we went through our 12-step program. They got off on step number 5. It's better than step number 1. But they still might end up on someone's plate. You know, a lot of the times when the person gets the healing, they feel better. They don't continue the healing because they feel like they're good. Sometimes, like a person, they might have a physical ailment, and then they're like, I'm so desperate, I just want to be better. And then they start taking some type of herb, or they start taking some type of medicine or penicillin or whatever they're taking. They're like, oh, I feel better. I don't need to continue this. I already know. And the reality is that that disease is still rooted in their body. All right. Baba explained, even in I have to read this. At the very first page, in the introduction, all right, it's falling apart. But this is my holy tablets. It says, I came giving you what you want, so you would learn to want what I have to give. All right. So, and then this one in the beginning over here says, the holy tablets. Within the confines of these pages, there are facts beyond any doubt. Thus begin all acts and thinking by using El Kalum, the all. All right. So now it's very, very it's very artful. I shouldn't say artful, skillful wording. It's very skillful wording. It reminds me of it says when you have apple juice, or you have some type of fruit juice, like you buy fruit juice, and it says with natural. It says apple juice with natural, with apple juice with natural ingredients, or juice, apple drink. Let's just say apple drink. Yeah, I'm trying to remember how they word on like packaging, so they can put apple drink with natural fruit juices. Yeah. But then you read the ingredients, and it has still all the other stuff. And it's like, and then you realize it says with with natural fruits. All right. So it can still have the poison, and you put with, you can add some of the stuff in it. So Baba said he had to give us a little bit of the poison, because we didn't want what he came to give. So he had to give us what we wanted and pair it with what he came to give, and it was meshed. But then he's saying, we don't got more time. All right. So now I'm gonna just dispel it all the way. But along the way, he was warning us and telling us that's what he's doing. All right. Because you can't just tell somebody to stop it, because they're not going to listen. All right. And they didn't listen. All right. So now Alalu and his people we're on 49. All right. Verse 49. Alalu and his people just left just as a Harab war broke out, in which Enlil destroyed Puma Punka from Patat's sky with great balls of Narar, fire, and stone. All right. So apparently, Enlil had intended to kill, all right, Alalu, but Alalu fled before he could, but he destroyed the ruins. That's why it turned into a ruins. But he was able to escape before. All right. So he's willing to kill to protect his status. You ain't taking my place. All right. So he wasn't necessarily afraid of Alalu taking his place, but he was afraid because Inky's down there. So he's afraid of that making Inky look good, and Alalu and Inky working together. So he couldn't just kill Inky because Inky didn't do anything, but he would like to if he could. But he's like eliminating the competition. So he tried to kill Alalu to get him out the way, which he was happy he had reason to. Like so many people, maybe one day I'll explain why I'm getting attacked so much. It's going to be a distraction right now. But you have different people protecting their statuses. People are so afraid because Nuwap means, one of the meanings means to replace. All right. So let each one replace their old habits. All right. Replace your old habits, the things that you used to do, the things you used to partake in. And Baba also explained that in an update, he explained that the first of us will have the mark of the beast. What did that even mean? All right. And it's like the genetic markers. All right. We're breeding that out of ourselves. All right. And some of us just don't want to let it go. All right. That's why it's about the children. And it was always about the children. All right. Baba says not always about that person personally. It's about that bloodline. All right. But we can go even deeper into that. So you see where this need to, I'm the one. All right. Everybody wants to say I'm the one. So Enlil wanted to say I'm the one. Alalu wanted to say I'm the one. All right. So they're all guilty of the very things that they're condemning each other for. They all have that same nature. All right. So 50, you can see the ruins to this day, Atlantis in the south and Kasura broken. All right. So Atlantis is broken in the south up into smaller islands as you see today because of the Harab war. All right. So Baba is explaining that those islands were together, but through all the stones and the attacks and everything, it broke apart. So the landmass. So the structure you see today is the result of that conflict that was going on. All right. And also to say, just because there's a conflict between the gods, that's not your family. All right. Brothers and sisters fight all the time. Mind your business. You know, that's not your issue. All right. Because they make up, they stab each other in the back or whatever the case is. It's not, that has nothing to do with you. That's a family issue. All right. Unless you are from the Anunnaki. So if you're from the Anunnaki, well, then that is your business. But Baba's saying you're not. All right. So ruins of Puna Punka and the depictions of the great walls of fire hurling to earth. All right. So this was being done on purpose. Rahul back. Backstack, Jamal Tat. All right. And then you have the result. All right. So that doesn't mean that was the only war. There's many things that took place. This is just the result of this war. All right. And then you have a map of Bolivia, where the city of Puna Punka once existed, and the broken landmass of the islands of Laka Titicaca. All right. So this is Laka Titicaca. And you see like these little pieces and broken pieces, little tiny islands and such like that. And then you have Bolivia. All right. Right off the coast of Bolivia. All right. There's the coast of Bolivia. But, you know, things are being broken up as it's being hit. All right. So 51, Alalu took the Mayans with him to Lahmu, Mars. 52. Inki and Enlil hated each other from then on, and the conflict of the Gadatwi two gods. All right. So that's where that conflict started. All right. So Enlil acted like he's protecting his father's throne. In a way, He is, but not really, because he had nothing to really protect it from. I guess he did, because that other god, Alalu, he tried to kill him and tried to take his throne, which he did not succeed at. And he was put in his place, so that threat was neutralized. All right. So now that that threat is neutralized, it could possibly be used to the benefit of that whole system. It could be used because Alalu has something good going, and Enki's down there rubbing shoulders with him. And those people came down for gold. All right. So it can work in their favor, but now Enlil, and then also will look good for Enki. And then Enki, who's not full-blooded, although he's older. All right. He was mixed with some other stuff. Well, Enlil was not mixed with other things. And then Enki was older. So by age, he should be the successor. But by blood, being more pure, Enlil should be the successor. So it's going to be who does better, I guess. So Enki can show he's competent. I might be mixed, but I'm still competent to serve what's best for all of us. And then Enlil says, not on my watch. All right. So now Enki is being sabotaged by his brother. All right. He's being sabotaged. That's called sabotage. So that's a good reason to dislike someone. All right. So now they dislike each other. All right. And Enlil always didn't like him because there's a certain type of superiority complex he would have had. All right. 53. And it's funny because as I'm telling that story, it sounds like our tribe. That's why I'm smiling to myself, like, this is what our tribe does. All right. That's too much Anunnaki genes that they don't want to let go. All right. So these are the Anaku and Anunaki, by whichever name or title they are given. It's only an attribute or being or beings, spirit or spirits, Tayaf, ghost or Tayafu, ghosts, ghosthood, godhood, a role. Some being from the Beru was playing and still are playing, all right? Some people are still going to be standing there waiting for Nibiru ships. When it was the Anunnaki, which to me is still very vague because that's in a ship. That's like a planet-sized ship. Where do they originate and who are they? All right. And is it even a pure race? I don't know. All right. I don't think Baabaa explained everything about the Anunnaki. But you have the Anunnaki, you have the Palladians, and then you have the Draconians. All those three has worked together. All right. They have worked together. And the Palladians and the Draconians are different. The Anunnaki, are they a mix? Are they part Draconian? Are they part Palladian? Even when I read the Holy Tablets, you see all these Anunnaki, and it looks like they had different classes of Anunnaki. So they had that whole, what do you call that? Not classism. Casteism, all right? So it was a caste society. Then you see different features, all right? So it depends on which caste and what they're doing. All right. So was there a slave caste? Seems so. All right. So they going around terrorizing. I don't know. All right. Are there some good elements? And then they go on the planet, and some of them came and mixed with the beings that was already here, and some of them was grafting. So that's how the Anunnaki got into our genes twice. They got into our genes when they came, and then they got them because we have Natharu. That's our forces that predate the Anunnaki. All right. And we was already here. All right. And our Natharu permeate the boundless universe. All right. So now you have the Anunnaki, the Palladians, and the Draconians. And when you're dealing with the Anunnaki, you may be dealing with the Pleiadian agenda, the Draconian agenda. All right. So you have people that are still standing there waiting for Nibiru, which Baba linked Nibiru and the other scroll that we read together, because that was the planet of the crossings. He explained Hebrew meant to cross over. Eber, that's the people, and Iber, or Nibiru, because U means plural in our language. So you have Niber, all right, or N dot I-B-I-R, Nibiru. So it's the same agenda. Nibiru is for the Hebrews, all right. And what were the Hebrews for? The Hebrews are for food, slave labor. That's not hidden. I wasn't created for slave labor, all right. Although some of that nature's in me, I already know. I know that, but that's not the forces that's going to help me. Those are the forces that you could see going to help themselves, because they turn on their own brothers. All right. They don't have no loyalty. They give their daughters like candy. All right. I would call that he low-key pimped his daughter out. All right. Like, I'm going to give you my daughter. But, you know, now we friends. You can have my daughter. All right. So he pimped. These are the type of beings that you want. All right. So 54, linked only to those. All right. So Nibiru. So let's go back. So these Anunnaki, by which name or title they are given, it's only an attribute or being, spirit or spirits, Tayaf, ghost, or Tayafu, ghost, ghosthood, godhood. Same role some beings from Nibiru was and still are playing. So some beings. All right. So it tells me maybe there's different kind of beings with different natures. I don't know. All right. Nibiru is very vague still. All right. So some beings are playing, linked only to those with related blood, wherein is the warmth of Haya, life. All right. So linked to those by blood. All right. Did they get into our blood? Some of us, obviously, yes. Look at the things people say in the chat. Obviously, yes. For some people, I'm a threat. I'm not trying to be sitting on any seat. You know why? Because I keep up. I don't want your seat. I want my own. As Baba explained that everybody has their own seat that is calibrated only for you. No one else can sit in your seat. The only thing about your seat, though, you're not guaranteed your seat. You have to be the right height. I mean, not the right height. You're going to be the right height. You want to be the right weight. Not too big, not too small. All right. So what does that mean? When I take what that means is that you can have your seat, but you didn't do the work. All right. So it's all about your potential. You have to develop yourself. And I have no idea what your path is about and what your purpose is and all that other, but I have my own purpose. And I have to make sure that I'm working on myself so that by the time it's time to plug in to that, I could play my part. All right. So if you did what you needed to do, then you could plug in. Guess what? That's called cooperation, because I benefited from you being in your seat. I'm in my seat. She's in her seat. Everybody's in their right seat. Now we're good. All right. Because I don't know about you. I don't like doing extra work. I like to do just what I need to do. I just only like to do what I need to do. All right. So when you're outshining, trying to outshine somebody, people work way too hard. All right. And it's funny when I see like women and men, I'm talking as a woman, where women try to compete with other women. I'm like, now you're working twice as hard. So that's why I'm not interested in competition. All right. Or usurping someone else's seat. Because if you're really in your seat, then no one could usurp your seat. And that's why you don't have to be threatened. All right. So there's no threat for me sharing these scrolls, because you may take the scroll and it can activate you to do something great. And I'm not afraid about you outshining me, because I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know. All right. You might take it real far, and then I might turn and say, oh, I needed somebody to do that. Now I could take this part that I have and plug it in. All right. So different nature, different nature. Rahubat, is that Zamal Emmanuel?
No, I haven't picked him up yet.
Okay.
But this is Emmanuel's father.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just small potatoes compared to him. People always light up when he's around. Not so much for me though. But
Mm.
nah, I was gonna ask. That was just joking on that. I'm sure they light up for me as well. Um, who is Id
Who is
to
Ed?
Alelu? Id to
Yeah,
Alelu.
that lady, right? Who is married to somebody, right? Is that the Ed you're talking about? That woman? She was a female, right? Zamal? You're talking about the Anunnaki Id, that female?
Tour. She was I was trying to see who she was to Alelu, because I know she was the wife of Anu and the mother of Enki. So I'm trying to see exactly who was she to Alelu, because that may explain, you were talking about the rubbing of shoulders of Alelu, and I'm trying to see was Alelu Enki's uncle or grandfather? And that may play more into why Enlil was so mad, because that threatened his seat on the throne, and that Enki could have, let's say, excerpt him through a different line or a different way, rather than what they was establishing as the pure bloods. He could have came in by way of Alelu, who took the throne, and I'm just trying to figure out, was Id, his mother, actually Alelu's sister, his daughter, or what was?
Mm.
I just can't. I can't.
So what's the
I know I
relationship
read it
between the
before.
two? Honestly, I
So
don't remember. But you see the family politics. All right.
right.
So now, yeah. So now this ex, like for example, these two had a child together, and now the ex is bitter. There's so many stories that can happen. So now the ex can weaponize the child for another agenda. All right, because you had so much connivingness in all these different natures. Some not as conniving, but you had all these different beings. So of course, as they're playing these games with each other, imagine the type of game minds that they play with the Adamites, all right, and those who fall under them, all right. And that's why there's nobody under anybody, all right, except Baba, because Baba knows all these stories, and everybody needs a guide at first. Baba is still here, and he doesn't need an intermediary, all right. People try to do that with me. I made the connection to Baba directly. I'm gonna tell you firsthand, you don't need to do that. And people like, I'm gonna put a good, you know how many people said I'm gonna put a good word in for you? And the thing is, that's not how Baba does. You can't put a good word in or a bad word or whatever, you know, because who you are, that's who you are. And at the same time, who he is to you and how y'all relate, that's your relationship. Don't got nothing to do with that other person's relationship. So in general, you know, Baba, he has earned that respect. And with all this information that he could have used to abuse us, you see that he has taken the time to gently guide us along the way. And so many people have played games, all right? And to put that much power in someone's hands, most people abuse it, all right? Most people want to control others, all right? Because they lack that control. Like these Anunnaki, they were so about controlling others, all right? And controlling the narrative. So 55. So this is why, all right, so this is linked to their blood only, all right? That's their story, the beings from the barrel. Linked only to those who are related by blood, all right? Now, so many of us want that, we want that status. So they're like, I'm not from here. I'm an extraterrestrial. So I'm superior than you. You even got that whole superiority complex. People find so many ways to divide themselves, all right? When in actuality, when you're grown from nature, all right, there's no way to grow a planet without talking about being part of a stardust, all right, because everything is formulated through that, all right. So those of the star seeds are those who can go back and they can remember their link, all right, and they go all the way back to their source. And you can still be a star seed right from Earth, all right, so to speak. However, I'm just saying that to show how deep the spell is. Look at how many planets and agendas and all these types of things happening, all right? And everybody want to be part of the Anunnaki crew. That's just one group, one agenda, which is not really one agenda. You see as many, all right? So, and that's what makes us vulnerable to these games, is our ego. If we keep, it's nothing wrong with having an ego. I have one. But it's your awareness of the ego that actually protects you, because you know yourself. So now that cannot be weaponized. All right. You know, and you don't have hangups about yourself. So you have no need to have hangups about whatever it is that you come across. All right. So that is why when you read in their Torah of the Abraham Zaham religion's opinion, before him in Genesis chapter 6, you read the sons of Elohim, gods, coming down to Pa Makab, Taha, the planet Earth, and taking Adamite, Canaanite, Sethites, and Enosite women or daughters of Adamu, the red, dirt ruddy Adam, and have sex with them and birth Karadu children called Murgbaru, all right, or the Gibberites or the tyrants, the Gabor, demigods. Yet the true meaning is tyrants, all right, as you see in the word Jabbar means tyrant, and it's found in the Quran, all right. So tyrant is somebody who likes to just rule, all right. There's people who are so tyrant, all right. The 9 jewels, but you don't just wear the 9 jewels. You have to wear it the way I said. All this controlling. And I was listening to the song from instead of just letting nature be what it is, respecting nature, because the reality is that we are still united as a tribe. You have to leave room also for people to be themselves, all right? And you cannot threaten people, shame them to doing what you want. You educate them so that they can be activated and they are empowered, all right? So again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it in the spirit and what you're doing. All right. And I promise you, I have not one inbox of anybody. I'm using me as an example. All right. Because I'm sure we can all relate. I don't have one inbox of a private message of anybody ever pulling me aside and saying, sister, I just want you to, step up your dress. No, they try to come into a platform that I'm already doing something to try to embarrass me. All right. Which I don't get embarrassed, because I never pretended to have it all together. I'm learning side by side with everybody. Nonetheless, I don't deviate as I do have the 9 jewels, so they want to take it back and interpret the message rather than just delivering the message and tell you how to connect to it. All right. That's the mark of a tyrant, controlling. Yes, Zamal.
Yeah, no, they coming after you because you're doing something right.
Right.
That's why they attacking you. They gonna come at you.
Yep.
That persecution for somebody doing something gonna come. I mean,
Right.
You
Right.
already know that.
Yeah.
Just stay
Yeah.
strong, and
I'm
keep
good.
doing what
I'm
you're
good.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Zamo. I appreciate that. So I'm using it as an example. And it's like, as I'm reading the scrolls, I'm actually learning as well. And I stand to be corrected and I stand to grow and learn. And you know, and I am not the writer of these scrolls. So uh so anybody would be foolish to follow me. Just walk in and sit with me and we sit together, study together, and make that connection to Baba. All right. Because you can. I'm gonna tell you certain things. Somebody was like playing like a status game, and I was really trying to connect to Baba. And what happened was, because I was writing him before, and then like I was trying to connect to him, and then the person had said to me that, oh yeah, they were being nice, and they would help me. So then when they said, yeah, call me back later. So then when I did, they switched it up and said, that's not to Baba. Like they just really wanted me kissing their butt. So that's something I'm not gonna do. So they try to bait me and then for me to kiss butt. That's not gonna happen. All right. So what did they say? They said it in a very mean way, and they said, why don't you work on your spiritual relationship with Baba? But they said it to taunt me. But regardless of if they're saying it to taunt me or to like make, to put me down, is it true or not? I'm like, that's true. So what ended up happening was I ended up working on chanting more. I started doing the breathing exercises because Baba says how you can send thoughts to people. He explained so many things, how to etherically connect. He explained uh, rhythmic breath. He explained so many ways. And guess what? It worked. So I was just like, I'm not even going to focus on physically connecting with Bob. I'm not going to focus on that at all. So I just focused on being the best person I could be. I focused on being more spiritually in tune. And I focused on in tuning myself with Baba spiritually. Guess what? That's when Baba wrote me himself, you know. So I didn't have to chase after any physical letter. It came. So what I'm saying about that is that, and he could feel it, he could feel it. So I'm saying all that to say is you don't need an intermediary. All right. The only person that's standing in the way is you. You're standing in your own way. Your belief systems are standing in your way. The agreements that you have and things you let people hold over you, that stands over in your way. All right. So there's really nothing standing in your way because we have so many tools. When I say you, we, you know, and sometimes what's an obstacle becomes an opportunity. So I'm sure we could all relate in various ways. All right. So you don't need to kiss anybody's butt. I'm a person one day we might not see eye to eye sometimes. Sometimes we do. At times I have disagreements. And you don't have to kiss any butt, or respect anybody who's not respecting you. That's what Baba said. And Baba wrote that in my letter. He said, do not kiss anyone's butt. That's why I say that phrase so much, because that's what he said. All right. And that's also in our Paa Taraq, respect those who respect you. All right. So I do my best to be respectful of others, as a fellow student, and never to cheapen what I'm doing. All right. So 56. Dawal Karadu, evil children. In Genesis chapter 6, verses 4 through 5 reads, there were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, that they bore children to them, and the same became mighty men, which were old men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continuously. All right, so it's talking about these children who were born, all right, to these extraterrestrials that came down. Now you can see through the Baaba's given the different events that this wasn't the only time that they mixed in with these Adamites. They mixed in before. They were mixing in during when Inky came down. So they most likely were mixing in with the natural beings and the unnatural beings. That's how they got into our bloodline twice. Alalu, all right, he came down. He's mixing in over here, all right, and then through the different agendas, they came down, they mix in, and then they created these different beings, these Adamites seed, and they mix with those beings. All right. So there's many different events, like there's many different wars, there's many different, let's just use the word migrations. All right. So 57. Yet in order for Matha, earthling, Adama, women, Hebrew Strong's number 127, Adama, earthling, meaning blush colored, ruddy being, ruddy ones, to have Qaradu, children by Matah, sperm of these Bani, Elohim, sons of God. The Hebrew Strong's number 1121, sons of God, extraterrestrials, they must have the same 46 chromosome makeup as Matah, earthling, meaning the same form of Haya, life, DNA genes. All right? So for them to come down and have sex with these women and get them pregnant, the genes have to be compatible. All right. So Baba's helping to despookify. All right. There's different kind of extraterrestrials and different things happening, but he's just showing. All right. Now you can still have offspring, but you'll have to do some type of grafting and different things like that. If it's not compatible enough, but it's compatible enough for them to get pregnant. All right. So 58. As it is read in the Sumerian tablets called the Atra Hasis, and now it has been confirmed that the human genome has 24,000 sequences. 24,000 sequences. DNA produced, amino acids, and proteins. All right. So that's the sequences. It links to the amino acids and the proteins. Ha Kakasnadu, the Caucasian, have even less. All right. So they have an incomplete formula in their genetics since they were grafted. So they don't really have 24,000. All right. So the standard, which we are the standard, is 24,000 sequences. So the original. Now, when you start making copies and copies and copies, you're going to lose some of the pixels, so to speak, all right, or some of those sequences. All right.
Is that why when women have a lot of children, they start to like they lose features and things like that?
No, I wouldn't say that's the reason. I mean, if the woman's picking up a lot of genetics and having children by different men, possibly.
Yeah,
But
that's what I meant.
yeah, because it's confusing the DNA. But you can have a lot of children if she's in good health and the partner that she has is in good health. But it's more so that graftation. So like, for example, when you start breaking things down, you'll start losing formula. So 24,000 sequences. So other races should have a little less. But the Caucasian, what the thing is that they didn't just lose sequences, they got scrambled as well. So it's one thing to be less pixelated. It's another thing to be distorted. So you're less pixelated and distorted. That's the Caucasoid, all right? So that's why the other ones, as Nagad Nadu, all right, as the originals, you can have those who come behind us who are more pixelated. Let's just call them pixelated, because that's how I'm seeing it in my brain. So they're more pixelated, but there's still a natural progression, all right? So they can still come in and harmonize with us because we'll have the complete formula with the music, but their rhythm and pattern can still plug right back in where it came from, all right? Very easily, because it's just a pixelated version. So if you take a copy and then you overlay it with what it produced, it should still be fine. It should lay down fine. But that's not so for the Caucasian because of all the grafting and all the games that was manipulation and taking this part and putting it here and moving that and putting that there. They don't overlay with any of the original and they don't overlay with anything that comes with it from the original. All right. So they are unnatural nature, because you can have a weakened form of nature, or you can have unnatural nature. So they're not even natural nature. All right. So Pi Caucasnadu, the Caucasoids have even less. Yet all DNA are from the same one source. All right. So they still had to come, because when these beings were coming to Anunnaki clan, they still had to go to the Sans people. So now when you look at what the Adamites' genetics are made from, as Bob explained in the Melanite children, they're made from, in this order: dog, simian, or some type of monkey, and pig, and Palladian, and Draconian, and Anunnaki. Yeah, I know Anunnaki was separated. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And then Sans. All right. So they still have, all beings on this planet, they still have to have Sans people DNA. All right. So they still pull from the Sans people to create this being, but they put also the cat, the dog, they put their own genetics and everything like that. All right. So you can't, even unnatural nature comes from nature. All right.
Never knew that.
Say that again.
I never knew that, because we were like so different from them, but still kind of the same in some ways.
Yeah, because they still have to go to the same roots. Because even if you tell a lie, let's just say a lie. So everything is still based in truth. Everything is, let's say you have the original truth, but you can't really tell a lie without it plugging into something. So you have to take a piece of the truth and then you infuse it with your own creation. And that's how you tell a lie. Because the lie has to be based on something. All right. It needs some type of root. So that's true for any type of being that's going to exist. All right. So yeah, all DNA are from the same source. The great thing about our DNA, well, our unadulterated DNA. All right. I'm not going to talk about us in the state that we find ourselves now, but on our unadulterated version, which Bob is trying to take us back to, the great thing about that DNA is uninterrupted. No interruptions. So you have a straight source and a straight link. No folds, bends, twists. All right. Now, when we talk about the Anunnaki, we have all these twists already, and then we start adding the Adamu, the Adamites. Everything gets so complicated. That's like when somebody's lying. It's very tiring to kind of dispel the lie. You have to go through it, and that doesn't add up. And well, how did that get intermingled there? But okay, that makes sense. All right, so that part's true, and that's how other people's DNA is. All right. So 62. Nagad Nadu Negroids onto Homo sapiens, Caucus Nadu Caucasoids. And there are uncovered 223 genes from Muzyad Mutathalu, extraterrestrials. All right. So Nagad, let's read that again. Nagaru Nadu onto Homo sapiens, Caucus Nadu, Caucasians, and they are uncovered 223 genomes from Muzyad Mutathalu extraterrestrials. All right. So they're finding some genetics that they can't link to Earth. All right. Even from Nagaru on to Caucasians, they're finding certain features that are not really Earth-like. All right. That they can't find a base in Earth. So that is how they were able to birth children with humanoids. All right. So even before these Anunnaki came down, these the beings here already had extraterrestrial DNA to begin with, because when you have something like Paa Taraq, which was the Stargate, that's what that scroll. Gatut means Stargate, and that's one of the scrolls. And Baba explains that yes, I Atum, Ray, I see you unmuted. Yeah. If you want to say something, you could say it. Atum, Ray? All right.
Well, while you did have a stopping point.
I'm here at work,
Okay,
Jamal
well,
Chat. I
Okay.
come off mute accidentally. I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem, Jamal. All right. All right. So now you have Gatut, Stargate, right? That's Stargate. And in that scroll, Baba had talked about something as simple as meteorites. All right. And like, for example, when a meteorite is traveling through space and time, all right, so you can have a meteorite. That's the same thing as genetic kiss. Because what's happening is that it's coming, first off, it's already carrying the information from where it's coming, where it came from. So, and where it's going to its destination, it's picking up all the information of everywhere it's touching. All right. So by the time it comes to planet Earth, it's carrying the DNA, all right, or the ingredients from where it came from, and everything is picked up along the way. And then it lands here, all right, and that will cause a change because genetic kiss gives birth to something new. So you create a new environment for something else to take shape and form. And that's what happened to us as like our Ogdods, and we talk about our Nadaru that came from the deep. All right. So it's like a pollination. This happens naturally because you might have planets, they interact with each other. All right. So there's a story, there's genetic kiss going on between planets all the time. And then when that happens, it causes upgrades and changes. All right. And how do these interactions happen? It can happen through angles of space and time. All right. It can happen when something happens here, it causes a chain of reaction for it to happen here. All right. Let's just say a planet it's expanding, and then it collapses on itself like a star. I mean, also stars can explode, and then it, as it's kind of drying down, or should I say cooling down, I meant to say, it starts solidifying. But also you have all those specks and stardust. All right, so you may have older planets and older suns. All right, they interact with younger suns and younger planets. All right. So just like you can have flowers and then the wind blows and the dandelion, when the wind blows the dandelion, it ends up flying over here. And then it pollinates that ground. Then you have dandelion growing over there, you know. So that's why you have some extraterrestrial involvement, and happens in different ways by nature. All right. By different things happening, different beings coming in and out. All right. So Baba is kind of like breaking that spell that we have over our head, that we keep looking for some person to come down. It could be a person, but it also could be a rock that brings so much information, because once that it germinates, you come in contact with new germs, it could germinate a new change in you. All right. And then you get linked to where it's germinated from. All right. Because that will affect the DNA through genetic kiss. Now, there's a lot more that can be expounded on, but I'm just kind of like giving different examples of how different extraterrestrial involvements can happen on Earth. All right. So we're on. All right. So now, 63. That is how they were able to birth children with humanoids. All right. So the genetics are floating through space, landing on each other and things like that. And then they may share a lot of the same genetics. All right. Because indirectly, many different things could affect both of them indirectly. So they're already in a way calibrated. to some shape or form. So 64. So this is not just one person, Adam, yet a group or a tribe of ruddy persons called Madamu or Adamites. By use of Ha-Adamu, the Adama. 65. The definite article, the. All right. The is an article. You put it before something is the. In Hebrew is Ha, a species, a slave. Hebrew Strong's number 5647-5650 of Abad. Abad means slave servant. Race by use of the to till and to tend. All right. So for example, if I was created, or a person or a group was created, so it's like, you know what, I don't want to do this job, but we need to create a being to do this job. We're not just going to create one being, we're going to create a creation for that. So that bloodline itself would be a bloodline of slaves. All right, because it's programmed in the DNA to be that anyway. And number one, it was a group of people that was created for a specific task. All right. Then you can have another group of people, like for example, you have Caucasians. They love animals so much. All right. But they eat so much meat. All right. So it depends on what the animal is being made for. So it's like, no, this animal is bred to be eaten. All right. So that's that group of animals. And then this animal was meant to be a companion. All right. And then they will actually breed their animals to make them more companion-like. They'll breed the genes to make it smaller. Like, let's make it, I want to be able to pick it up. From a wolf, you have little pocket teacup dogs. And then the cows, they can make the meat just how they want it, breed it a certain way. Even eggs. All right. I like eggs, so I can tell you a lot about eggs. The color of the yolk, how to get the yolk the way you want it, and all that. How you feed the chicken, how they grow up. Also the species of the chicken, there's a different species, and then ultimately their diet. And then when you cut open the egg, it will tell you a whole story about that chicken. All right. And some of them taste better than others. All right. Depending on all those factors. And then you'll be able to tell by the yolk and different things like that. So you could do that with anything. All right. So you can have a class. All right. That this is for that, and then this animal is for that use. So a species, a slave. All right. So you have a whole species for slavery. In Genesis chapter 4, verses 12, something that they try to do with us, because that's what the Jim Crow book is all about. It's about the creation of a new Negro. All right. So they could breed the mentality. And a lot of us, Baabaa explained that a lot of us are that part of that slave class, because Baabaa explained that a lot of us have genetic agreements to go against him. All right. It's by their very genetic programs. And it tends to run in their family because it's genes that they pass on. And that's why Baabaa says in Are There Black Devils that they come and mix in with us and have children and all that. All right. So that's how they get into your bloodline. So now you can't tell who's who anymore, right? So in Genesis chapter 4, verses 12, and it reads, when thou tillest the ground, it shall not therefore yield unto her strength. And figurative and a fugitive. I think it's supposed to say a fugitive because it says a figurative. So a fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. All right. So the earth, let me read that again. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. All right. So it's going to be very tough existence. All right. You're not going to be in tune with the earth. It's not going to bear fruit for you. All right. And even if it bears fruit for you, you're going to be allergic to everything. I mean, I threw that in there. But imagine being so out of tune with nature, right? And then you're a fugitive and a vagabond upon the earth. Just like Alalu, he had become because he tried to kill Anu and take his position. So he became a fugitive and a vagabond, and he had to flee. All right. And in reality, sometimes they're chasing each other from planet to planet. All right. And now you see, because Elon Musk, he said he wanted to go to Mars. All right. So he said he wanted to go to Mars and he wants to go colonize Mars because supposedly there's already a group over there. But the Earthlings that are already here, they're having a hard time. So the last time he tried to put a spaceship, it exploded. And those other astronauts, that man and woman that they keep depicting, that they're lost out at space or they can't come back for some reason. They could send supplies, but for some reason they can't come back. And I don't really know why. And I forgot where they were going. I think they were going to the moon. But the reality is that in the 1960s, supposedly, if they made it to the moon, and let's just say they did, for argument's sake, that with more technology now they can't make it, because this is a testimony that the reality is that their extraterrestrial connections have abandoned them. All right. So now without that link, they're not going anywhere. And the great thing about us, for those of us who take time to heal ourselves and clean ourselves up and get back to our natural state again, that where can you go in a boundless universe that's not natural? Everything is a work of nature. All right. So you can go anywhere. You can go as far as natural as your genes are. All right. And so many people, they make a mess of their life here and they don't want to clean it up. And they think they're going to escape the mess. And that's not what Wu-Sabat is meant to do. It's not an escapism doctrine. It's about you facing the facts and facing reality. All right. And it's some people that are like, I'll abuse my body because the body doesn't matter. I'm a natural being. The reality is that the physical is a school of the spiritual. And if you don't master the physical, either you'll repeat it or you'll just dissipate, so to speak. So it's a school. So being physical is a very spiritual thing. All right. So being earthling, for example, being an earthling itself is an extraterrestrial experience. Because you can't tell the story about the formation of Earth without talking about the formation of other things that preceded it. All right. So a lot of people, they don't respect where they are. All right. And they just escape. But that's not going to work anymore in this new cycle. So in 66, the Hebrew word amal, Hebrew Strong's number 5998, labor, work. That's what it means. Is the same as mushmaru, Sumerian, amelu, worker. All right. So amelu, Baba is linking it to amal. All right. So the Hebrew word and the Sumerian, that's the connection. So now Baba is telling you that the Hebrews, they do go back to the Sumerians. That's the same bloodline. The Eber people, or the Hebrew people is the Nibiru people. Nibiru people is the Nibiru people. All right. So that is the making of the Kakas Nadu Salal Caucasian race by their Gadadu, the gods, Elohim, Anunaki, not the Nagad Nadu Salal, Negro race, who existed long before 6,000 years ago, or 400 BCE. All right. So Baba is making it very clear. They didn't make you. You were here already. And then people get confused because they hear, well, wasn't our evolution sped up? That's done by the natural pollination that happens, all right? And that's been happening. That's the relationship between the planets and the cosmos and the cosmic energy, and how the energy from Orion and Sirius and the beings from Orion and Sirius made it to here, all right? Through, they have different projects, different things happening, all right? Even meteorites, even stardust, all right? Even angles of light, all right? Because we see that even now, the sun cycle, just think about it. As our angles change in our relationship to the sun and our central sun and the relationship to the planet, Baba explained that it sends a different type of energy, all right? And scientists, modern scientists can confirm that the energy that the sun is giving off is different than it was 10 years ago. And it's getting more intense every 10 years. But what that energy, the effect that it's having on the consciousness of the people is that it's waking up dormant genes, it's waking up dormant thoughts. So that is a form of speeding up the evolution. All right. And that happens all the time because there's genetic kisses happening all the time. All right. And that's our story. All right. As Nagab Nadu. The Anunnaki didn't create us. We grew with the natural creations. The colorless pale race on verse 68 of Kakas Nadu, Caucasians 3 times cursed, started from albinism in Genesis chapter 3, verses 22. 2 Mubrasu, lepers in Genesis chapter 9, verses 25. 2 spotted in Leviticus chapter 13, verses 19. Ruddy, blush, pink, reddish race. Leviticus 13:2. That you see now the world over. They were the monks of East Indian, mixed seed of Asiatic blacks, the Tans of the Tan region. 70. Pa Mungalu, the Asians, are the yellow race onto the brown race called Hindu people by their Zaham religion, and Pa Mutraru, or the Aborigines, known as the Australians, of East Asia and Australia, mixed seed, both from Mudradu. That's the Dravidians, a black race with farar, fur, not wabar hair. 72. So to each race is their own spirit forces called familiar spirits. Leviticus chapter 20, verses 1 through 6. There being dawal, evil, there is being evil. In 1 Samuel chapter 19, verses 9. All right, talking about the Adamites. In 1 Samuel, related by genomes or genes. All right. In Leviticus chapter 20, verses 1 through 6 reads, And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto Molech, he shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones, and I will set my face against that man and cut him off from amongst his people. I'm just laughing because a memory just came back about something that happened. Maybe I'll share it. All right, I'll explain. All right. So, and I will set my face against the man, and I will cut him off from amongst his people, because he hath given his seed unto Molech, to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. All right. So this being wants to punish them, because what happens? So this agreement with Molech, he had marked his territory. All right. But now the people want to go defile his sanctuary that was meant for him and go get mixed up with some other being, whoever it is, some other extraterrestrial. As you can see how competitive they are. All right. So to defile his sanctuary is supposed to be for him and his name. All right. And if the people of the land do any ways hide their eyes from the man, when he giveth of his seed unto Molech, and kill him not. So the thing is, those who mixed in with Molech and who prostrate to Molech and serve Molech, he's saying to kill them. All right. Then I will set my face against that man and against his family. All right. So don't just set your face against that man. You have to set your face against the family. Why? What did the family do? Because the family may be tied into that agenda. Because now the seed might be mixed. So you can't just get rid of that one person. You got to get rid of that person and that whole family. And I will cut him off, and all that go a whoring after him, to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people. All right. So they'll be cut off, because their people was meant for this particular God, the Lord. All right. The Lord that's speaking to Moses. So once he gets cut off, you have to cut him off, and he can't associate with those people again. Because if he's going to associate with the people, he's going to affect them again. And by blood right, you might give Molech a blood right, or create a door where Molech can come. All right. So it's like, for example, if I'm able to prove that I carry the blood of this particular country, that might give me a right to claim some type of claim to that country. All right. So get rid of the evidence in the people. So there's no claim. You have no family ties, Molech. All right. So again, eliminating competition again. So and the soul that turneth after such, and have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go whoring after them, I will set my face against that soul, and I will cut him up from amongst his people. All right. So now we see how genetic kiss that works. So they understood the power of genetic kiss, and they weaponized it a lot, and they used it for status and different things like that. Now for us, we understand, we comprehend and understand the power of genetic kiss. That's why we get the education, because in actuality, you are creating links and influences. And when you have so many influences, that leads to confusion. All right. Because you have so much agendas. All right. And then for you, coming from the oldest, it wouldn't be wise for you to, because everything else is going to be a downgrade. All right. For you. All right. So, and in actuality, you end up cutting yourself off, because at times you just won't be able to relate. And that's why Baabaa says that this is a genetic doctrine. It allows you to go as far as your genetics go. All right. So there's no need to hide any secrets, because in actuality, the person can only comprehend as far as the genetics allows them to. All right. And that's why it's like Tahuti. Tahuti can teach on multiple dimensions. He could teach a class full of students, and they all get a different message, because that's as far as each one could go. So Bible says that each one gets dropped off as far as he could take them. All right. And everybody's not going to go to the final. All right. Everybody doesn't go back all the way. All right. So that's not really a threat. That's somebody, you're doing it to yourself. So you see where these Anunnaki judge you. In actuality, you end up judging yourself. All right. Because either you could keep up or you can't. So for example, I'll use this as an example. When I travel certain places, I practice eating or not eating certain things, because it's very helpful to me. All right. I can't lie to myself. So the outcome of what ends up happening depends on what I was doing. So I'll give you an example. If I travel to a place like Africa, if I travel to any tropical place, I don't eat sugar for a little while. I won't eat sugar. I limit natural things, because what ends up happening, I notice that if you don't eat certain things, I guess the way my genetics are, and knowing yourself is very important, that the mosquitoes will not bother me. But if I eat a lot of sugar, they would be attracted and they would just tear me up. All right. So you'll realize that your genetics can allow you to go places, but your habits can also support where your genetics can take you. So that's why you can't lie to yourself. You end up judging yourself. So that's not something that you could fake, as an example. All right. So you either are you or you're not. And you see things that you could do to support yourself. All right. Now, some people, they might be able to eat whatever they want, and the mosquitoes don't bother them. But that's a little trick, all right? And you also, then you don't have to worry about it, depending, right? Some people, they could still eat good and they still get teared up. All right. But that's nature judging you. And that's really you judging yourself. Because who's doing it to you? All right. But these other Anunnaki who are tyrants and create tyrants, they're going to kill you. All right. And in actuality, you realize depending on your habits, you're actually killing yourself. And that's why when we step back and we look at the Adamites, Bible said, don't fight them. Bible said, leave them alone, mind your business, step away. And you're going to actually see that they're taking themselves out. All right. So in 1 Samuel chapter 19, verses 9, and the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, and he sat in the house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. That's in King James Version. All right, the javelin, I think javelin, that's something of cutting. Can somebody look up the word javelin? I forgot what it is. It's something that's used for something. Is it like a knife? It's spelled Javelin. That's a javelin.
Like a spear, almost.
Say it again.
Like a spear.
A spear. Okay, a spear. Okay, it's a spear. All right.
Yeah, it's part of I think when they play the sort of like in the Olympics, they have people who throw it.
They were
Like a
stolen.
long spear. No, like you throw it
Oh,
to see how far, like to
oh,
measure sort of like your strength, like how far you can throw it. Yeah, and then it needs to land on its point and sort of like hit the ground and sort of like stick and not fall.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
used in track and field, you know,
I
and
see they have it in movies depicted in like gladiators and stuff, right? Yeah. Oh, Rahubat Patah, I see you.
Rahubat Zamaltat. Appreciate all that you do and all that you continue to do for the tribe, Tawatet.
Ashuk, Tawatak, to you as well, and for us all coming together because we're all doing it. All right. So let's read that again with the javelin because it's talking about cutting off. All right, and the evil spirits. So let's see. So and the jealous gods. All right, my God is a jealous God. All right. So the evil spirit. All right, we're reading 1 Samuel 19:9. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul. And he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand. And David played with his hand. All right. Another interesting thing. I remember when I read the Bible for the first time, cover to cover, when I finally sat down and said, let me just read through this Bible. One of the things that inspired me to read through the Bible was that I was looking for this devil. You know, I was like, this devil that is terrorizing the planet, and that we're all afraid of. I want to learn more about this devil. So I read the Bible and I was like, the devil is not really doing all the terrorism as much as I thought, because it's like it was God that was making everybody do things. Like in this verse, it says the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul. Why would the Lord send an evil spirit upon Saul? And I was like so confused when I saw how even when Moses went to the Pharaoh in that story and he said, "Let my people go." Moses went all the way over there to deliver the message, and it said the Lord hardened the heart of the Pharaoh. Why would the Lord do that? The Lord could have softened his heart. Why is the Lord making people do all these bad things? All right. So that's just something to go back, if you ever go back, for anybody who's still into the Bible. And that was one thing. All right. So in 1 Samuel chapter 18, verses 10, it reads, "And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house. And David played with his hand. And at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand." All right. So I have to go back to see the context of what means that David is playing with his hand. But I would probably say, I don't know, manipulating his hand or controlling his hand in some way. So Saul is not in control. All right. You have God playing, putting his evil spirit in Saul, and then you have David playing with his hand. All right. So he's out of his, when you say, what do the Masons like to say, stay on your square, he's not on his square. All right. All right. So he's off of his square. So he's now under the influence of whatever. 73. And the older person is related to Tazuz, vibration. So the same for the race. All right. So by the race, they all related by a certain vibration. So your mother and such, you may have certain tendencies through that vibration. And I give an example. Sometimes I wouldn't be surprised, like everything that I've done, all my interests, I would always find out that somebody in my family already did it. Like I would just think that I'm doing something new. And I remember like I was looking at, I was looking through something and my dad said, "Oh, your grandma had the same thing." And I was like, or like I'll read a book and then I'll see like the collection of the rest of the book and like maybe my father's, like I'll see a book that I was like, wow, he reads those books too. How does he even know about those books? How do I know about the books? Or like I'll be making some recipe. My mom already makes that. She didn't teach me, but I might have a tendency like, or the way I might do something, some uncle or somebody did it already. Like I have not found anything original that I've done yet. All right. The way I do it is original though, because nobody could do it like me, but because I have my own flavor, but the idea itself. All right. So I have a certain vibration. All right. That's permeating. All right. Even when I hear stories about my great grandparents, it's like it played out in my life somehow. All right. So let's read that again. The older person relates to the Tazuz vibration. So the same for the race. Now, as Nagadna do, we are a positive race, so to speak, or a natural race. To become in tune with our own race is a tragedy for us. All right. To be at the mercy of somebody else playing with our hands and putting their spirit upon us and cutting us off, because when you look at the nature of those vibrations, what they have a tendency to do, if it's a natural thing, this is great, especially as we're going through changes. We're in 2025. We're at the end of one cycle and we're beginning a whole new cycle. And you're going to want those beings who's been through those many cycles. I was there, which is here. All right. Because our people is way older than 24,000 years. And in actuality, they've gone through many cycles. All right. And you want to be in tune with knowing what to do instinctually, because your instincts is your vibration. Now, if your instincts have been corrupted, you're on some other frequency. All right. So your instincts, if it's natural, that's in your favor. All right. So each race Tazuz vibrates according to how old that Salal race is. And the God Nadu Negroids are the first world's people, the oldest, the ones no other race spirit can Tazuz vibrate with our race. All right. So the reality, we can vibrate with everybody else's race, but they can't vibrate with our race. All right. Because their vibration doesn't go back as far. And it doesn't mean that they're any less than, they're different. But as a Nagad Nadu, you should value that vibration, protect that vibration. All right. Because those are the instincts or those natural connections where your ancestors are speaking to you. All right. Because they've done that, been there. So like, for example, every time sometimes I just know I'm going to be good at something. I just know, like, I look at it and I just know I'm going to be good at it. And then I'm just like, I'm thinking I'm doing something. And then I find out somebody in the family already did that. All right. That's that vibration. All right. Like my grandfather, he was a journalist. He did other things as well. And just the different people. So you realize that you may have a natural inclination, your natural inclinations. All right. Just like when the animals who are in tune, they are in tune to the end of their genetic frequency. And then it's time for them to go. All right. So they know, okay, there's a certain slight change in the air, a certain vibration. They know to migrate. So they'll migrate, and then others who are not in tune, they're like, why are all the animals leaving? They migrate, and then they're fine. All right, by their natural vibrations, because the reality is that their genetics did that over and over again. All right, that's how they know. And they can tune and feel the shifts. All right, so it's the genetic memory, the vibration. Their memory, other races, their memories don't go back as far. So to say Gadad, God, Allah, Elohim is to say Tayafu, spirit, spook, specter, apparitions, phantoms, ghosts from Old English cast as gas. All right. So now how you see that ghost turns into gas, as in GAS. From chaos or chaos. All right. Greek chaos. For a space chaotic state of mind confused. All right. So God. Bible takes you through the journey of the whole language and see how you end up confused. And that is why when you ask a Mujwal or a Jew or a Muksas, a Christian or a Muslim or a Muslim to describe a table that they can, or a cloud they can, or a star they can, or a dog they can, then ask them to describe God. All right. So ask anybody, a Jew, a Christian, or a Muslim, ask them to describe a dog. Ask them to describe a star. Ask them to describe their mother. They could sit there and give you a clear explanation, all right, or description. When you ask them to describe God, you're going to get all kinds of different answers, and they're all Muslim, they're all Christian, all right, of heaven. They can't, all right, they get no true image. That's why I share this information, because what happens is the way I see it, and that's why everything is recorded, and everything in this room has always been recorded. The way that I see it is there's been so much playing with information and messages delivered so vaguely. And when you ask a question, you walk away more confused. So now we're just going to read the scroll and where your brain, because Baba is very, very detailed. He orders it very nicely. All right. So now you can take time to know rather than waiting for somebody to explain it to you. All right. You go look at it yourself. All right. And a lot of the games of that cloudiness can't be played anymore. All right. No more cloudy games. And if somebody that can't answer your question, you have the right to go ask someone else. All right. And if another person can't answer your question, you have the right to sit down and start to analyze and study it and get more facts yourself. All right. So Hebrew Strong's number 351 is Ayil for leader or chief. Hebrew Strong's number 360, Ayaluf, strength, and Psalms 32:1 and John 5, chapter 5, verses 19 to 23. Physical being 80. Or they ask for Eli in Matthew chapter 27, verses 46, or Elo in Hebrew Strong's number 1682, or Eloi, for my God. All right. So in Mark chapter 15, verses 34, and John chapter 1, verses 18, and Matthew chapter 6, verses 9, his Father who art in heaven, a Mahal, a Mukwan spiritual being. All right. They can't describe Jesus' Father. It becomes chaotic to them. All right. And John chapter 4, verses 23 to 34 reads, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, and the Father seeketh shall worship him, God in spirit, and they that worship him in spirit and in truth. All right. So now, one thing that annoys me personally is when I ask somebody a question and then they rephrase the question and they put it in some poetic way and they call that answer my question. All right. So they turn the God in spirit, that they worship him in spirit and in truth. That's a nice poem. And it's very confusing. So God in spirit to me sounds redundant. So you say, okay, God and spirit, that sounds redundant. And then they worship him in spirit. What does that mean? And in truth. All right. And that's how some people answer your questions when you ask them a simple question. All right. And this is how they play with the people's minds. All right. So sometimes somebody could ask a question. Excuse me, can you tell me what's going on what's going on with Baba? Hey, where you been? Well, I was doing this. Well, you should have been there. And it's like, or they answer a question a very roundabout way, and then you're like, okay, they spoke. I don't know what the answer is, Or they ask about a simple fact. All right. And they, instead of just saying, I'm not sure, I don't know. Because I say that many times. I don't always know. I'm figuring it out. But I will know if I want to know eventually. I might not know right this moment. If I'm curious enough, I'll know. All right. So instead of just saying I don't know. All right. So 83. If you say he is Ka, spirit, force, they will agree. All right. If you say a Tayaf, ghost, specter, spook, they will say no. No, he's not. That's confused. So is God a spirit? Yes. Is God a ghost? No. Is God a specter? No. So they're not specifying. It's a very vague, and this is what happens. It's all very vague. All right. So what does it mean to be a spirit in the first place? See, now you're difficult. You're difficult, Noon. All right. So God or Gas or God or ghost, yet even a Tayaf ghost is a specific being, be it seen or not. They call their Gadad God, the unseen God. In John chapter 1, verses 18. No man hath seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, which is the bosom of the Father, he hath declared him. All right. Which is a contradiction because it says all the time that Moses went into the mountains to see God. All right. So they're confused. Are you seeing it? Are you not seeing it? All right. So these are those who are faithful by way of the absence. All right. So Baabaa explained that these beings are not really unseen. The only thing is that they're absent. So, for example, I'm the seen noon. Now I'm the unseen noon. All right. Let me just move all the way. So now I'm going. So what they do is that they get people under the spell of this is the unseen God, where God has to come down and go see what the people are doing. And they say, oh no, they're getting united. Let's go confuse them by dividing their tongue. The reality is that this unseen God is there sometimes in the scene, and sometimes it's not. So at times it's not, and sometimes the being comes into the scene. All right, and that's the games that they play. So Baabaa translates the Quran, all right, and it says these who are faithful by way of the absence, and they give up to perform a salutation at worship of the things we provided for them, and they share willingly. That makes more sense. Doesn't it make more sense to be faithful to someone in their absence than if you say, well, God's everywhere? Why do you need to be faithful if God's everywhere? So, like, for example, a faithful friend, how they act when you're not there. They defend your name, for example, when you're not around. All right. As an example of using that word, faithful. All right. So, who are faithful in the absence of God, they're still doing the right thing, even when God's not there. And when God comes back, he says, I have a good people. All right. That would make more sense to use a word like faithful. Because why do you have to be faithful for a God who's all-knowing and all-powerful? What's there to be faithful to? All right. The God could just go and switch your nature like that. All right. So you could be faithful in the absence of God. All right. So when the leadership is away, that's when you really see what kind of worker you have, how faithful they are. So in Quran chapter 2, verses 3, who believe in the unseen, establish prayer and spend out for what we have provided for them. That's the Sia international version. And in Quran chapter 2, verses 3, it reads from another translation, same verse. Who believeth in the unseen are steadfast in prayer and spend out of what we have provided for them. All right. So provided, listen to it as in past tense. All right. So while I'm gone, all right, you're going to be steadfast in prayer. Remember to do what I say when I'm not there. And you're just going to use what's provided for you. All right. Because if this God is all present, it can continue to provide as in present tense. So it says, believe in the unseen and steadfast in prayer and spend out what we provided for them. All right. Because when I'm gone, I can't feed you while I'm gone. When I come back, I'll bring some more. All right. So in the meantime, while I'm gone, you just stay in prayer and just eat what's there. And then when I'm back, I'll bring you something else. All right. So verse 87. Others of Abraham's Za'am religions say God was seen in parts and others, and his son in the Bashar flesh, while others claim he incarnated as a man and came in person as a certain man. So they can't even agree. Did God incarnate and come in the body as a man? So then now you could see God? Or did God just have a son? And then where is that God? How did God do that? All right. Yet, 88, yet and still, each has a ka spirit inside that katat's body. All right. So whether it's God himself or whether it is just a child of God, they both have a spirit. So the living spirit The living spirit waiting to die became dead. Tayafu, ghost spirit, a specific Gadad god, as the title ghost god implies. 91. So then, if any person belongs to any Zaham, religion or opinion, they should know or find out for sure which one or more of their deities of their Zaham religion represents by Tazazal, vibrational tone or name. All right. So Baba is saying, not just about Adamites, any person belonging to any type of organization, any type of religious group should take time to learn what the vibrational tone or name means. All right. So are you following something that you didn't take time to know? All right. Some people are followers by their nature. Bible says some people, that's just what their genes tell them to do. All right. They don't need all the facts. The reality is that before, even for Baba's organization, before you join any organization, it says that in which, what does it say it in? I read it, and then I also heard him saying it in that recording that he did with Hagar. He did that recording with Hagar, his daughter. But it said that if before you join any organization, you should research the organization, their beliefs, and the founder. All right.
It's in the Family Guide, and that's one place.
Okay. Tower has a Malta. Yeah. So 92. Because it will relate to your own Kazaz body and Ka spirit as your creator. All right. So if you're going to accept a God, do you know the vibration? Because that vibration is going to relate to your own vibration. All right. The true tone or true meaning of a Rana name or attribute will identify to which race of people this tone will assist only. All right. So I'm just thinking like an easy way to explain this. Let's just say, let's take our race and let's put species. And I get the vibration of the survival and the ancestors of a bat, right? So now it's the changes in time is coming, and I get the vibration and the message for a bat in my family line. So that vibration goes, and I'm acting like a bat, and I'm under the control of a bat, you know, like those flying looking mice. All right, so I'm saying bat. And the reality though is that it's gonna do what is in its instincts for its own survival. All right. So it's going to do what's conducive through its family line. Is going to tell it what to do to get to its next point. And because I'm not a bat, it's not going to work for my body. And I'm going to be going where the bats are. And that's not a condition that's conducive for my human body. So now I died. All right. And I did everything the bat did. And now I'm dead. All right. So the reality is that by genetics, all right, as humanoids, we're not all the same. And what's conducive for this person's genetics is not always going to be conducive for your genetics. All right. So there might even be certain herbs, all right, that you may take and you follow, let's just say, some Asian. And the Asian takes this herb and says this is going to be very good. That's the relationship that Asian body has to that herb for the needs and design of that body. For you, it doesn't quite work like that. All right. So that's just an example in real time how you could see it play out. All right. So you're taking somebody else's medicine. All right. Works great for them. It's horrible for you. All right. So it's the tones they speak, not just the Lahaj language, yet how they pronounce words, which are Tazazat's vibrational frequencies. So yes, what you speak can change how you look. All right, I skipped something. All right, so let's go back to 94. All right. So that vibration can only assist, all right, the bloodline that is from. All right. So 94. What do you think when you look at a Nagad Nad, a Negroid from America, and a Nagad Nad, a Negroid from the Caribbean? Do they look alike? All right. 95. Yet they have the same past. Afafre Ka, Africa. All right. So if you look at us from the Caribbean, look at us from America. We don't quite look the same. All right. And the reality is because it's not just the language you speak, but how you speak as well. And that can alter your vibrations. All right. So yes, what you speak can change how you look. All right. And because we're scattered all over, we're not all speaking the same languages. On top, let's set aside mixing with others. Yeah, we're doing that too. But even if you take different beings and you set them different places and they have different behaviors and different speech patterns, they will start to adapt to that vibration. All right, physically. So yes, what you speak can change how you look. Look at Mungalu, Asians, Muchnasu, Chinese, Mukranu, that's Koreans, and Mojpanu, Japanese, who have the exact same roots. Yet when you look at closely, you will see differences. All right. So Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, all right, even though they go back to the same roots, they don't really look alike. All right. They have distinctions that you could tell a Korean when you see one versus a Japanese. All right. So, and it's not, even if they're not talking, you just look, you can see the whole style, their swag, the way their faces, the way the nose is, the head shape. Sometimes you could tell. All right. So 99. It's the Musan tongue they speak, the tones, the mazazats, vibrations and frequencies. It affects your appearance, and how you actually look is affected by how you speak. What do you think? Why do you think you fatality naturally change how you speak to Mawas baby? All right, to a baby. So you'll notice when you talk to a baby, I was looking through like my gallery, and I was seeing myself with the children, and the way I was talking was just so, oh my gosh, it was so annoying. So I had to delete those videos. But you naturally just do that. All right. You might talk a little softer. Even if you don't go in a high pitch, I realized I was just doing that. But you naturally just come down a little bit. All right. So the worst state to be in is that of a ghoul, a gala, to seize one's soul, ghoulish, a ghoul follower of the grand zombie goblin, which I feel like people are trying to turn me into a ghoul. They would love that. And Quran chapter 37 verses 47, it reads, inside of it there were no ghouls, goblins, demons, zombies, and they will not by way of it be exhausted. All right, that's translated from Asaid Isa Ahadi Amadi 1970. To see their meaning, or ghoul, read Dictionary of Islam by Thomas Patrick Hughes, BD, MRAS, copyrighted 1994, of Kazi Publications Incorporated, page 139, and it reads, a man-devouring demon of the woods, a species of jinn. He controls their akal mind, qatat's body, bah soul, ruling their spirit by tones, masak, music, his or her voice is kala. All right. So, for example, those who want to control so that they can go and rule me. So many people try to control me. And, you know, and what's that about? That's about feeding the forces of taking your soul, because now they take you out of your center. All right. And that's the thing, you know, it's hard not to try to control people, because I may also be guilty of trying to control at times, which I realized that a lot of people are trying to control others rather than controlling, starting with yourself. All right. And that starts by also facing yourself, connecting with yourself. So 104. Now listen to our race after 2000 AD. We have some of our race speaking and sounding just like Paa Taraq, the Caucasians. Oh my gosh. We're sounding more and more like Caucasians. Before, as a child, I remember you could tell who was a Caucasian, who wasn't. Now, I can't tell anymore. By their voice, by their voice. Because I remember, like, there was this woman talking behind me. I mean, I was walking, and it was like for a good, maybe a few seconds, maybe a few minutes of her conversation. I was like, her conversation is so annoying. I was like, this blonde lady, if she doesn't get from behind me, and I turned around, it was a dark-skinned woman. It was a dark-skinned black woman. I thought I was really picturing some skinny blonde lady. And I turned around, and it was, because she's like, oh my God, I just, like, that's the way she was talking. She's like, oh, I just, and she's like, yeah, so, and like her conversation, even the topic, I was like, oh. So I just turned around to kind of see, you know, let me finally look at this lady. And I really thought it was going to be a blonde, you know, like I pictured a really, really white woman, not even like a dark haired woman. All right. So unlike Self and Kind, it took 400 years to make a Negro out of an African. All right. It took a few generations. It took some time. All right. So it took 400 years to make us that way. So it took that long for our vibrations, practicing it. All right. All this time. And that's why our generation and this time now, it's like either we going to become Nagadu or we just going to keep fading away, you know, losing our tones more and more. The breathing exercises, I feel like it has helped me a lot regain some of my tones, because I was listening to myself and I was like, I know it sounds dramatic. I was like, it felt like I pulled the soul in. Not to say I didn't have a soul, but that's the best way I can put it. I'm like, I could hear. Because I remember like one time, a few times actually, and I told Bob about it. I could hear these women and I could tell they were African and with African tones. I was telling him. But I knew they were African. And a part of me, I was like, I wish I sounded like that. And I could hear a song that they were singing. And the funny thing is, later on, like after chanting the breathing, well, mostly the breathing exercises, I could a little bit hear their tone somewhere behind. I could hear it. Like I could hear that tone that wants to come. So it's like a certain resonance that African people have that we kind of lose, you know, and we have to hear these annoying conversations. And slowly but surely, we've lost a lot of our resonance over the last 400 years. All right. So now look at them. Listen to them. They have transformed and even speak nasally now, yet will not be accepted by Paa Taraq, the Caucasoids, ever. All right. So no matter how much you mix with them, all right, no matter how much you try to sound like them, all right, you can go and dilute your genetics. All right. Even if you have, it's just not in their genetics program to accept you. All right. And some of us do speak out of our nose. Even in this tribe, I hear some of us. I'm like, yeah, that's why we should chant. It's needed. The chanting is gonna help in the breathing exercise. Oh, Rahubat Linky, I see you.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you're saying because we have a similar situation here in South Africa. I think South African history is somehow it's similar in a way to yours because I think the same slave book was also used here. I was in a function in Johannesburg and there was a lady who was talking, like we said, behind me, and I was so sure that it was a white person. And when I turned around, I couldn't even hide the shock on my face. But also coming back to the tones and vibrations, because I've been learning about that a lot. Even reading the chants, there are certain words where I'm sort of like confused because I would pronounce them differently because they still sound English to me. And I'm struggling with that to sort of like, because we say A-E-I-O-O, not A-E-I-O-U. So, and when I'm reading, I'm leaning more on that. So like all the words that have a Q, because to me, when I say Q, it sounds English. And then in Shangan is, so I would say Ashuk instead of saying Ashuk, so there are those challenges that I'm like, so exactly how do you pronounce this word? But I
Right.
guess I need to get something that has to do with the language in order to understand that. But at the moment, so I'll go like Anuki, Jawef, Pa. I'm not saying Pa because when I say Pa, to me that word is Pa versus Pa. So it's
Mhm.
like those things, and instead of saying Kasamum. I'm drawn to saying Kasamum. So, it's all of those
Right.
fine
But
small
you know
things
what?
that one is trying to perfect. Yeah.
It's a challenge for you only because like we've been dumbed down, I would say, a lot more than you have. So Baba came to us in the West and he made it in a way that we can grasp it. So if you look at the evolution, I would say, for lack of a better word, of our language, you realize it's gone through many changes. And I realized what Baba was doing because I saw a map. I know it sounds funny, but I saw an actual physical map of our language. And we were only on like stage 3. Um, and let's say you had stage 9 and stage you had 12 stages altogether. We were only on stage 3. So the reality is that so much has happened to us that some of us can't even roll our tongues because of all the mixing. So Baba explained that our language does have clicks. So instinctively you may know, like for example how you said pa. There was an update and it was Pa, like how you had said it. That's why I smiled because that was one of the corrections. Um, so the reality is that your genetics just might be a little bit more advanced or more in tune already. Baba's getting us there and Baba is taking us through many stages, so English is one of the slowest frequencies. And one thing about South Africa too, to me, South Africans, when it comes to your hymns and your chants and your natural harmonies, it's like South Africa is already up there, you know. And that's why so many people from all over the world, they're going to the South Africans to mix. And we know that the South Africans are going back to the sands, are the oldest people, but it seems like they're mixing a lot, because everybody's going back to the source to come and get, like vampires. But
Yeah.
the reality is chant the way that you chant because for example, when Baba had made some of us start fasting, all right, Baba had found us in a very low state as a people. I'm not saying every single person, as a people. Some of us were on drugs and doing all types of things. So when you look at older ways on how to fast, it say you can have a little sip of wine, you know. I'm like, drinking wine while fasting. But that is an upgrade for somebody who was doing crack and heroin and all these types of, you know, angel dust. So for
True.
you, if you wouldn't go start drinking wine if you never drank it, like, oh, time to drink wine, I'm fasting. That would be a step backwards for you, you know? So, um, you know, realize that, that it's a journey, uh, and, like everything that you had said, actually, I've heard in updates, and I actually heard somebody say, they corrected me and say, oh, you're supposed to actually say "pa powered," not "pa powered." But I've been saying it like way. So the way that instinctively that actually was a correction, the way you did it. So chant the way it is, because for me, I'm so excited. That's why I like to share, and also my Haitian family, when I actually show them the chants, when they have their tones, which is they still have tones where we don't. Um,
Mm.
I want to see this information in African hands, because you know Baba calls us in the West. He doesn't call us full souls. He calls us in the West half souls. He says Caucasians don't have a soul. Africans have a soul. He says that we're half souls. That's how he called us many times. All right. So in a way, you may be dumbing yourself down to a degree. You know what I'm saying, Linky?
No, I hear you, and yeah, thank you.
Yes, yes. But that's the whole thing, to wake up, and that's why we had a head start. We had a head start in the West, and you know, a lot of us we played power games. But when this information get into the Africans' hands, I'm real curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it makes sense because even culturally,
mhm,
growing up, females don't drink, don't smoke, especially when you live in rural areas. So it was not normal to see a female smoking or drinking, or even younger people. But of course, with the media and all of that, we have similar issues as the West.
mhm,
But also in terms of our spiritual belief. Yes, growing up, there are churches everywhere, but you can see that is driven out of people being afraid of going to hell, because we have people who practice African spirituality, who are still connected to our ancestors. Like my cousin, she has that gift. But now with Wu-Sabat, I'm learning that blood, or rather sacrifice, has been introduced into that. So it has sort of like lost its true nature. And I have
mhm.
been talking to my cousin about that and explaining what Wu-Sabat is. And it's so easy for us to understand it. It's not foreign when Baba said you pray to your great great grandparents and your grandparents and all of that, because that's what we're doing anyway. Even people who go to church, because again, they don't understand what they're supposed to be doing there, but again, they're driven by fear. So they will go to a spiritual person who practices, who is a sangoma, that's what they're called. When things are really hard, they'll go to the sangoma and they'll be told what to do, which ancestor they need to communicate to. And then on Sunday, they'll go to church just to tick a box. So that's why for me, it's easy to, I'm not stuck in religion. I was never stuck in religion. And I'm finding that you will find that most Africans in general, this information will resonate and it will make more sense to us, because that's how we've been living our lives anyway. It's just that it got saturated at some point.
Right, right, right. Um, yeah. So it's like the same thing. I think once we drop our egos and our arrogance, the world is ready for it. Specifically, our very African family, because like even when I'm speaking to my for my family, uh, I go to Haiti. All right, I also go to Trinidad, India, different things like that is going on. But my father, he's from Haiti, and it's very very normal for as a Haitian. to see or speak to relatives on the other side. That's very normal. That's just it's very normal. So you're not going to be looked at as strange if you say that. So, for example, when my grandmother, she was transitioning, the day before she transitioned, my father saw her sitting in his room. But that was the day before she transitioned. And then my aunt, she said that she felt like my grandmother sat in her body and was looking at everything. And then she felt her leave. And she said she felt real comforted by it. She's like, wow, she almost felt like she was the same person. It's like, that's something that you could discuss and it won't be weird. But religion still infiltrated. It's still infiltrated. And for us in the West, for Africans in the West, they should be looking at us as cautionary tales, because in time we have lost those connections. All right. Because if you tell somebody something like that, they start looking at you like you're weird. They don't relate to that. All right. Some people do, but then they think that and that's just normal every day. So, we have to wake up these dormant birthrights. All right. Because this was a natural vibration for us. It was just a separation of a density. All right. And we have through these various infiltrations, whether it was just the religious and programming, the fears, and also mixing our genetics out and our vibrations and how we're talking. It's affecting how we're thinking. All right. So, yeah. Because it's like I have noticed that. So, because I was talking to somebody who is also like the artist who painted this picture of this lady. So interesting because like he's Haitian, and he hadn't heard of Baabaa before, and he practices voodoo. He's a voodoo practitioner, but more on the natural side, like not of the more of just the spirituality, not of the cutting of the animals and things like that. And the funny thing is, like, I looked at his art and I was like, his art embodied a lot of Wu-Sabat. I could see Wu-Sabat all in it. I gave him 3 books. I'm like, you're going to love it. And it was like, it articulated things in such a way, like it was a confirmation of things he felt he instinctively knew, So that's why Baabaa said this is a remembering tool. All right. And also, we can start seeing how these 6 ether forces has infiltrated us in various ways. So we can start to recognize, all right, when these forces come, because these forces are very cunning. All right. In some ways, it's obvious how it's infiltrated. In some ways, it hasn't. And that's why Baabaa said we're not blocked. We're not cut off. We're just blocked. And once these other invasions are kind of moved out the way, then we can see and we can remove these cumbersome and realize that there's always been this connection. There's always been it. It's always been there. And that's where our arrogance and talking down to people and all that. Because in reality, the way that Zamaltat Linky explained how she instinctively wants to chant, those were the updates. That's how she was explaining it. And she doesn't even know the chant. So just because you read a book first doesn't mean that. Don't underestimate somebody who hasn't read the book first. And this has happened to me a lot. And that's why I don't have the space for arrogance. So I just go as far as my genetics can go. And hopefully I've been an asset so that perhaps if they go further than me, maybe they can pull me along even. All right. Not if I've been a hindrance in their path. All right. So that's where that wisdom comes in. And also, if you're reading the scrolls and you actually sharing it from a place of Ashuk, you start to realize that there's Sabians all over the planet. All right. So they transform by offering, by Ahu, souls to their six ether forces. All right. Talking about how we went from one state to another. All right. That's why they have sounds of their sawatats, voices coming to you all day. TV, cinemas, music, radio. All right. So you're hearing their advertisements all day. You even go to some parts of Africa and they're playing the Caucasian advertisements all day. All right. That's why you could go, like Zamalta Linky explained, she has a African black woman walking behind her. She swore it was going to be a white woman. She turned around and she was shocked because the advertisements, all right? And not just that, you're looking up to it. That's why we have a picture of Baabaa Yaanun, all right? So you're admiring and looking up to, you want to be like somebody, and you're normalizing your own image of greatness, all right? So you assimilate yourself more towards that, all right? So their tones enter your being and take over from the Wakut's time you wake up. They devour your whole being. Za'am religion is the same. Your Rananat chants, your Nazamat, Nazor, your Namazorat, prayers in their Lahaj languages, tones received by their Tayaf ghosts, not your own Muslafu ancestors. And their Tayaf ghosts can't help you. All right? So there's interferences. So you're singing or you're talking, and even English. What we're doing here is a form of six ether. The fact that we even speak in English, all right. That's why we have our language. Help us pull our soul back in, all right. Because all these forces is eating and devouring that soul part of you. Now it's just static white noise. 113. So you become filled with their pure Tayaf ghost called Holy Ghost, their Holy Spirit. All right. So now you have their spirit force in you. Look at our Salah race in church when they claim to be filled by the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 13. All right. Speaks of that. Then 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verses 1 through 25. Speaks of that. And it says, for he that speaketh in an unknown tongue speaketh not unto men, but unto God. For no man understandeth him. Howbeit, in the spirit he speaketh mysteries. And Acts chapter 2, verses 2 through 4 reads, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the house where they were sitting. And they appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon them. And they were all filled with the Holy Ghost and began to speak with their other tongues. And the Spirit gave them utterance. All right. And by the explains, they're foaming from my mouth, shaking on the floor. Because in reality, that vibration is not even matching up with them. So what ends up happening? It glitches their system. So you see people getting that glitch. That's what the Holy Ghost is. It's a glitch. All right. Because that spirit force is not really embodying that body quite right. So it's causing some type of like interference, and you'll see it, all right, like a short circuit. So a Christian woman possessed with this, see, here you have it in Christianity, all right, here you have it in voodoo, all right. Now in actuality, they might be connected a little bit more where they can actually see and talk, and at times, all right, connect with the ancestors. But you see how those six ether forces, that same six ether force, made its way in. All right. So Baba's helping us to entangle ourselves, whether it's obvious or subtle. All right. The same way with the breathing exercises, as I started doing the breath book, you start to see like yoga, for example. All right. Now, some of my family, they practice yoga and different things like that. All right. And then you start to see the things that people aspire to and what they aspire to do with their bodies. And they call it discipline, but it's really abuse. And then you realize that Baba has taken those 6 ether forces out. So as you're doing breathing exercises, you see how even those forces have made its way there. So it's not to throw out the whole thing, because the breathing exercises in general is great. All right. But you start to take the interferences out. So it's not to condemn voodoo, all right, or anybody. It's just to take those interferences out that has infiltrated the people, the hearts, minds, and souls and bodies of the people throughout the world. All right. Some of us, it's just been more extreme and more noticeable. All right. So now you have a Santeria spirit. All right. So they'll be like, oh, I'm more spiritual because I could walk on this hot coal. I could, you start to see, I could do something that's adverse to nature. I could take this hot thing. I could take this sword and I could eat glass. I've seen stuff like that. All right. In actuality, these are interferences. All right. So even it's because it's like one saying that we have, you're either all right or you're not right at all. All right. So it's like if you have 95% of the truth and 5% of a lie, somebody else has 100% of a lie. Let's just give an extreme. You still want to dispel that 5% so you can get back with no interferences, get back to yourself unadulterated. All right. So now this demon is possessed of whom? El Shaddai, the demon, in Deuteronomy chapter 32, verses 17. This is the same voodoo and Santeria rituals. All right. So you see it goes into all these different rituals. All right. In the different ways that you open yourself up. All right. Like, so for example, you may do something to the animal. You consume a little bit about the animal, you get that adrenaline. Certain herbs that they might put in the ear. All right. And certain things that they might be doing. All right. Can open you up. All right. And there's certain herbs. That's why you don't go to seances of people you don't know, because you don't know what's in that smoke. All right. Sometimes people put extra things in there, for example. All right. So for anybody who's into practicing Santeria and voodoo. All right. But as to far as who are you doing that for in the first place? All right. Now, there are other aspects that are very similar to Wu-Sabat. All right. A lot of it overlaps. And then you see a lot of the other forces that tricked its way in. Same way with yoga, a lot of it overlaps. But it's certain positions we won't sit in, as Bobby explained, that is actually unnatural. Certain positions are unnatural for your body, the way you're put together. All right. So 117, a person possessed is often called a horse, as they are thought to be ridden by the possessing spirit called Ior. All right. So Baba's explaining, because Baba, he knows about the school of Santeria as well, the school of voodoo. Same way, anywhere our people were, he took an interest. All right. He's explaining that away as well. The possessed person may move unnaturally and speak in an unknown language, and it seems very dramatic and somewhat frightening to an outside viewer. All right. I saw this other woman. She was going through one of her rituals, and she kept sticking her tongue out in a very sexual way, and she was like, oh yeah, she just there was some fire, and she did some sexual thing to the fire. And I'm like, she's gonna feel that in the morning. All right. And she just looked like she was high. So I was like, what did they give her? All right. But also what energy is riding her, because she opened her vessel and this opportunistic entity jumps in. When that's the thing, we already have those connections. All right. So when we're doing these rituals, we are more likely to get disembodied spirits. That's like a greater portal. All right. You don't need to do that, because you already have that connection. Now, not every person who's practicing voodoo does this, because some of them know this already. All right. So a possession is an important part of voodoo in Africa and as well as Haiti. All right. So these are the different trances. All right. So you could put yourself into an emotional and excited state, all right, to get to a certain frequency, which will put you on a certain, and then you'll call that a spiritual experience, all right. That ringing you often hear in your head is your own Muslafu ancestors trying to tune in on you to speak with you. Yet you block them out with white noise of other races in their Narad fire spirit force 6 ether. So we're not talking about tinnitus, where you get that constant ringing in the ear. Sometimes you'll have a ringing in your ear, and that's your ancestors that are already naturally in tune with you. So Baaba's saying how you don't have to go through these different rituals. You have ancestors that's always trying to contact you. It's just that for you, you've created blockages between you and them. All right. So now when you go to do these other rituals, you're not picking up your ancestors, you're picking up other forces. When in actuality, you have many instances of your ancestors trying to talk to you all the time. All right. So Baaba's trying to get us back there. All right. And some people can get a mix of both because they're partaking in this, they're still hearing, and it gets all kind of muddied. All right. So you offered your Ba'a soul to religions such as Islamism, a murab, an Arab channel or frequency for your own Khatat body. All right. And if you look at what a lot of people are doing in our tribe, is they're trying to take us away from the hereafter and put us back to the Ansar days. Look at the kind of pictures and how the depictions of themselves that they put up, the AIs that they put up. Didn't they Arabianize themselves to some degree? All right. And the funny thing is I kept the pictures, but then it was like, Noontet, you need to get in online. You need to dress more like this. And they sent some hijabs and all these types of things telling me to dress like that. And the images is of women that are more Arabianized than even me. And I'm not even the blackest woman, so to speak. I didn't see any images of them showing of a Nagaru, a pure Nagaru, how we should look. All right. Even in the picture, if you go as some lady with really long hair, where she looks, kind of like my phenotype, and you're like, that's how you should look, And it's like it just shows how those little subtle things. And they're like, you want to be under the image of the beast. That's what they said. I was in the image of the beast. Yet they're showing that they have a taste for the image of the beast in their own way anyway. So you just study the images and what we are gravitating to, because that interference, and we don't even realize it's interference. All right. So I didn't see not one picture of any, non-Arabianized or non-mixed looking black woman that they tell me be more like. All right. So their masak music, ranamat, chants, namazorat, prayers can never reach back to you, so you get no help. All right. So we offered our souls to the Arabic frequencies and channels, and now their music, their chants, and their prayers cannot get any help. Just call out over and over, day and day, nothing. All right. So we calling out to these Arabs, we don't get no answer. I tell you what, when I start relaxing and tuning into myself and getting to know myself, I get the answers. All right. But I never got no answer from Jesus Christ or Allah. All right. So just call out over and over, day and day and day after day, nothing. Yet the Marabu Arabs are doing well by their Allah, their spirit, Tayyaf ghosts of their tone. Just as colors, hazars, vibrate, so do mumanu, mukwanu, so do human beings. All right. So that's a great place for us to stop right there. All right. So we're going to stop on page 20. So just like colors vibrate, so do human beings. We're going to go into those vibrations and continue to scroll tomorrow. And I think we'll be able to finish the scroll tomorrow. All right. So does anybody have anything to say about what we're reading so far? Let me see if we're still recording. Yeah. All right. So yes, the scroll is a lot to take in. And we're going to continue reading the scroll. We're most likely going to finish it by tomorrow. About how to get our power back. All right. And the many things that happen to us along the way. And that's why we see what Baabaa explains now. It's always been about who you are, not what you became. All right. Who you are, not what you became. And now you see about that vibration, and you see the antenna, and you also see what is it called? The omniverse. All right. As we tune into natural nature. All right. So that's our lahaj, our alphabet. All right. And it spells out the word Pa'ut. All right. So after Paa Taraq la Rawuk Yaanun, after Paa Babab la Yehu, open the way to the soul, the breath of life of Yaanun. Open the door towards him. Open the soul. All right. Open the breath of life. So Rawuk, all right, is a soul, but it's that spark. All right. And then you heard about the fire, what is it called? The pyramid of fire or the breath, that spark. All right. As Nagaru. We breathe differently. All right. Now, those of us somewhere in the middle, that's why we sound like this and we talk like that. But if you really listen to an African, listen to a Caucasian, all right? And I'm talking about us at our root, not what happened to us. They vibrate differently. They resound differently. They vibrate differently, all right? And so open that breath of life. So we have to learn to breathe correctly again, all right? As Baabaa explained. Apta pa babab la yehu. Open the door towards him. And we're not just talking about a physical man, Baba, or Yaanun, or some outside entity. Notice that doorway is inward. So who is also the creative will? All right. Who you really are, not what you became. So really you're talking about yourself. This is a journey back to yourself. Return to yourself. All right. And Yaanun represents the soul of the people. One people, one vibration. And that's what we're working to get that to. All right. So that concludes our soul, and we see what we're healing through. And it may not be easy, but we're doing it. It might not be easy. All right. Depending on all these frequencies. All right. That's what we're healing through. So now we know what we're working through, and we can be disciplined to get there. All right. So I have one question for Zamaltat Linky, my African sister. Do I sound like a white lady to you?
Not necessarily. No, because I mean, African Americans have different tones. But no, you don't sound like a white lady to me. You sound like an African American. I don't want to sound insulting, but like educated African American, if I can put it in that in that
Okay.
sense.
All right.
Because yeah, there are differences.
All right.
And
So
yeah.
I still have my tones there. Yeah. So
Yes, yes. The nasal thing is there, like you said, because of where you are, and if you were taught to speak a certain way, obviously you are going to sound like that, and it's there. We mimic without even
yeah.
sometimes realizing, and it's okay. That's where you were born and raised, so it makes sense. But no, you don't sound like so I work in a private game reserve, and we have a lot of Americans. I've been exposed to a lot of Americans visiting the lodge where I work. So yeah, I can tell the difference. So it's not just from TV, it's from the contact and engagements. Yeah.
Right. So
So
that's gonna.
No, I just wanted to say thank you. You are doing a beautiful job. And I was about to excuse myself because it's after 11 here at night.
Oh
I
wow.
have to go to work. So you ended it. The timing was perfect.
Okay. So the time is going to be very similar tomorrow if you can make it. If not, it's going to be recorded. And I appreciate the value that you brought because in reality, you already you confirm many things that we've already talked about. So chance it the way that feels natural to you because you were actually correct. All right.
Tautat.
All right. So I'll see you tomorrow if you're going to be around.
No, I'll be around. Wadu.
Okay, Wadu, Ashok. All right. So yes, this is a great place to end. All right. This is just going to help us, thanks to the internet. We're going to interface and we're going to help each other. This is not a competition, this is a cooperation. And we see that great things can happen for us when we're cooperating because we stand to benefit from that cooperation a lot more than, a lot more than a lot of us would like to admit. So if anybody else has anything to say, it's an exchange. It's an exchange with us really standing to benefit, I would say more. So if there's nothing else anybody like to say, we're gonna come back to tomorrow again at 12. I appreciate everybody. This has been a journey. I feel emotional in a good way. I feel very proud of everyone. I know the challenges. I'm right here with everybody. And those of us who are sincere, we're gonna be where we're supposed to. So just wanted to say Tawakum to everybody. As everybody does their part, you're actually assisting everybody. Everybody's assisting everybody. So Tawakum. Ashok and Wadu.
Asuk, Wadu.
Wadu.
Ashok Wadu. Talakum Musa.